Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this February 24th meeting of the Tallahassee City Commission. For those of you who are willing and able, please stand for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious Father, thank you for all whom have gathered today to conduct business on behalf of our citizens. Grant us, in all our discussions and decisions, the grace to seek your ways and be guided by your wisdom. We ask that you keep us on the right path, that we might successfully complete the work that we have been appointed to do. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, sorry. Come on, sir.
Hey, Curtis. Hey, you. Commissioner, how are you? Good. Good to see you.
All right, good afternoon again. We now have the privilege. I had the privilege of presenting this acknowledgement last year, and my colleague, Commissioner Miller, will join me this year in presenting proclamation and recognition of the National Association of Women in Construction here in Tallahassee. Commissioner Miller.
Well, hello, ladies. How are you? We're very proud of you. I would like to read the presentation. First of all, I'd like to recognize, well, I'm going to call you up, and should I call them up now? Come on up now. President Jackie Wilson, Vice President Carol McDaniel, Carter, very important person Carolyn Bibler, and Secretary Candy Antoinetti. Whereas the National Association of Women in Construction in Tallahassee, Chapter 72, has distinguished itself for 54 years as the voice of women in construction in the city of Tallahassee, Florida, and whereas the work done by Chapter 72 has benefited the city of Tallahassee through community development and educational programs, and whereas Chapter 72 has unceasingly promoted the employment and advancement of women in the construction industry, and whereas the construction community represented by Chapter 72 has been a driving force in fostering community development through renovation and beautification projects, promotion of skilled trades, careers, and a positive vision of the future. And whereas Chapter 72 has sought to achieve successful results for the city of Tallahassee and surrounding areas in a cooperative spirit with other organizations, as women always do. Now, therefore, I, and along with my mayor, Andrew Gillum, do hereby recognize the Tallahassee Chapter number 72 and its many dedicated volunteers for its steadfast work on behalf and in support of women in construction, and do proudly proclaim the week of March 6th through 12th, 2016 as Women in Construction Week, and encourage our citizens to congratulate the organization on its many accomplishments.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners, Mayor. We appreciate your recognition of this. Our Founders Week is what it is, and we call it WIC Week for Women in Construction Week. And as she said, we have been in the Tallahassee community for many, many years, almost as many years as I've been alive. So, and I know I've been a member since 1978 and have participated in many, many, many events and activities and projects and whatnot in our community, and these ladies have too. So I just want to thank you all for the recognition and for doing this proclamation. Thank you. Come on, come on.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Now, Commissioners, we are at the point in the agenda. First of all, are there any agenda modifications, Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have a couple of them. Item 10.02 has been added to the agenda at the request of Commissioner Maddox. Discussion on Star Metro and possible ways to assist with high school start times. Materials were provided on two separate items after the original agenda went out. And item number 8.03, appointments to the Environmental Board, was pulled from consent by Commissioner Miller.
Mr. City Manager, Mr. Mayor, could I also pull out 801, 802, 804, and 805?
801, 802.
804 and 805, because 803 is already pulled.
Got it. 84, 805. Thank you. All right. We are now in a position to hear from citizens who wish to speak on items that are agended. Are there any speakers?
Mr. Mayor, we do have a number of speakers tonight, primarily on items 1204, which is solar PV, and 1207, which is discussion of the CHSP process. The first speaker will be Lonnie Draper on item 1204, and as he approaches the microphone, I'll let speakers know that you'll have 3 minutes for your remarks. I'll let you know when that 3 minutes is expired, but there will also be a light just to your left on the lectern that will be green when I turn it on, and it'll turn red when your time has expired. And again, 3 minutes for your comments. People who wish to speak on public hearing items, those items will be heard at the specific item with those public hearings. This is for items on consent and policy formation.
How long do you think they'll have to mark for the time? You know, right? How long before time is that?
Sir, we'll give the instructions as you come up. There are 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then 30 seconds remaining on the light.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much for hearing me today. As you know, the burning of coal and fracking of gas contribute to pollutants that hurt humans, pollutants like mercury, lead, and benzene. These illness-causing pollutants can be decreased, and the contribution to global warming can be decreased by alternative energy productions like solar. As the president for Physicians for Social Responsibility, a Nobel Prize-winning organization, I'd like to thank and recognize the leadership of the staff of the city and the commissioners for their work towards solar in this Tallahassee, and recognize that that contribution of solar, reducing those pollutions, is actually a contribution of health to the citizens of Tallahassee. I stand in support of option 1 to expand solar power to 20 megawatts. I'd also like to remind them that the city has supported Tallahassee Community College in the past for its training program to train solar technicians, and that we do have a small army of solar technicians as a result of that forethought, and that I suggest that we use local talent to both build and support the solar plant. And then I also hope eventually that there will be a carve-out for community solar as defined by individual citizens being able to support the solar plant for their individual contributions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Colleen Castile, followed by Bart Bibler. I failed to mention before Dr. Draper's comments, if speakers would give their name and address for the record, we would appreciate it.
Colleen Castile, 3209 Atwood Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32312. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you very much for your time. Wanted to speak on 1204 regarding the expansion of the solar PV project. As you know, many of you know, I represent Earth Steps, a company that is very much in favor of alternative energy efficiency, and we appreciate our contract with our previous contract with you on energy efficiency. It was a great thing for the city, and you were able to win quite a few awards on that. But regarding the solar PV, we certainly support the expansion of that. Tallahassee prides itself on being first in many things and being on the forefront of new ideas. We were there when it came to some of our wastewater and how we handled that. We were there on natural gas used as a fuel in our electric utility. And in this case, solar is truly a fuel that should be one of our top fuel sources in Tallahassee in particular. Florida has been behind the times and not reaching the top 10 or even the top 20 in terms of the solar energy facilities that it has in the state. There is a map that many of us in the solar industry use, and it shows that we have about 5.5 hours of sunlight per day that can be used for the generation of electricity. New Jersey has that very same number, and New Jersey is in the top 10 in terms of solar facilities in its state. So we hope that you will take this opportunity to move forward. When the bids came in on the first 10 megawatt project, I think the staff was very pleased to see that the cost of solar could be below avoided cost, and hence you have before you a recommendation to expand that. We had a number of companies that were able to do that. Solar PV prices have gone down tremendously in the last 10 years. I think in 2007, I approached the city utility with one of the first unsolicited contracts for solar PV, and it was ridiculous on the price. And so it's a pleasure to see that it's a real financially workable project. So thank you. I encourage you to support the expansion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Bart Bibler, also on 1204, followed by Tom Cordy on 1204.
Hi, Commissioners. Bart Bibler. I live at 3673 Mossy Creek Lane in Southwood, and I'm employed by Simpler Solar Systems here in Tallahassee, so I sell solar energy. I'm certainly in support of 1204, and particularly Option 1. I applaud that the City of Tallahassee has done a lot of great things and is doing even greater things with solar energy, but you know, as Colleen said, there's still a long ways to go just to catch up even with New Jersey, right? And so for tossing out a couple ideas, you know, we could put solar in Cascades Park. Wouldn't it be a statement to put some solar on top of the old electric building and show, you know, the new age of electric is solar? Now, I know that's touchy because, my God, that's the Edison restaurant, but it's the City of Tallahassee's building, right? And what a statement to have the coming of age of solar on top of the old city electric building. And if that's not good enough because of the touchiness or the historic significance of the building, then put it on the facilities building in the park right next to the interactive fountains. You know, there you got a brand new modern building. You could have solar right in Cascades. You could showcase right there in Cascade our jewel of a park. And so you got opportunities. Keep making progress. Don't think you've done enough because you haven't. You know, we all got a lot more to do if we're going to, turn this COT climate change problem around. And doesn't need to be our company. There's other companies. We actually collaborate with Earth Steps, but so does Independent Green Technologies, the other major solar company. So it's not about who does the work. It's about going renewable. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. And Mr. Bibler, we owe you a deep debt of gratitude for your assistance with pulling off the train visit the other week. We had a great time, and it was an awesome turnout, and thanks so much to your leadership and your participation in that.
I applaud each of the many of you that rode the train and came out to the great event and led the charge and cheerleading, and it was the best tour stop, and they were wowed, and I'll talk about that a little later, but now we need the appropriation and make that train run by 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Tom Cordy, and then following Tom Cordy is Tom Thiebaud.
Hello. My name is Tom Cordy. I live at 3422 Lakeshore Drive. I am the president of the Board of Directors of Sustainable Tallahassee, and we have been working very closely with the utility folks. They meet with us on a regular basis to talk about how we could diversify our fuel supply, and we fully support option one. We believe that there's more that we can do. Even with the passage of the creation of 20 megawatt facility, will still be in single digits in terms of the percentage of clean renewable energy that we have as part of our energy portfolio. So we think that there's more that you can do, and we're hoping that you'll consider additional installations like this so that we can increase the amount of clean energy we have. We particularly support the idea of customer engagement, which is mentioned in this as well. You can call it customer engagement. You can call it community solar power. I think the key thing here is that in the past, solar power was for the elite. It was for people who had the right house, the right roof, could afford to put solar power on their house. And if you look at the statistics, less than 50% of the people in this community could even do that, put solar power on. So we think it's really important that you consider other options where citizens can have a choice and they can actually decide that they want to buy clean energy, buy solar power. Some utilities across the country have a 50% plan or a 100% plan where you could actually go and buy 50% of your energy, and it could be clean solar energy. And we think that this is something that you should do for social equity purposes, because, as I said, solar has been something for the elite in society, and what community solar power does and what this customer engagement option does is it gives an opportunity for renters. It gives an opportunity for others to buy into clean energy, and we think that we hope that you develop that option for all people in our community, rich and poor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Tom Thiebaud, followed by Kevin Priest. Mr. Thiebaud was on 1204 solar PV, and then Mr. Priest will begin speakers on 1207.
One of my proposals that I put through, it talks about electricity. It talks about showing the detrimental effects of electricity on a energy level, not on just a physical air quality or soil quality or water quality. But it talks about, it deals with it that all energy promotes its own self. Electricity has a universal connection with its electrons. They go through walls, through skin, through bones. Your thinking process, your feelings are still on electrical impulses. Those electrons can manipulate them to be in the same direction that said electricity is made in. I've got my experiment, Nor's natural stream system, would give numbers, recognizable numbers, how detrimental the electricity is being made, how detrimental the electricity is via the energy that's used to make it. The sun is giving its energy to this other planet, so this planet can live. Okay, the sun is basically a fire burning out, burning its energy off. Okay, do we want to go in that direction? Okay, I've got an experiment that would give numbers to it, like I said. It would give numbers, show the detriment, whether it's harmonious to life or whether it's detrimental, and how detrimental it would be towards doing things harmonious with the life system. And I've got ways of being able to make electricity totally environmentally sound. My collapsible speed bumps, pressurized cylinder, create electricity from, you pass the air very rapidly by air, capture the weight of the vehicle, each vehicle, convert from air to oil. Oil runs an oil motor very efficiently, producing free electricity from forcing the key cars to keep the speed limit. If they don't keep the speed limit, it's like hitting a speed bump, depending on how fast they're going over the speed limit. Otherwise, you're catching the weight of every vehicle that goes to that stop sign, goes past that stoplight, that corner, or through those stoplights. Stoplights and corners for stop signs would be an excellent place to have these ETDs, and you'd be able to run Tallahassee with no problem. And use no fuel whatsoever, no negative energy whatsoever. But this experiment would show whether or not that energy would be harmonious or not, because gasoline is still not on a fumigation system. It's still not on spurts, minutes of gas. But Yeah, I'd like to talk with somebody about getting some of this stuff corrected and putting this stuff down so it can be corrected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Kevin Priest, followed by Rob Renzi.
Afternoon, Kevin Priest with Capital City Youth Services, 2407 Roberts Avenue. Talking about a couple issues on the CHSP process. One to basically be in support of no modification to the process itself to include non-human service organizations. So I wanted to make sure that I was clear about that issue. Secondly, I wanted to be in support of the 2-year funding process that I know is on the table for recommendation at this point in time. That would help a lot of organizations at this point to be able to roll out new programs and be able to get a lot of consistency with the programs itself, as well as data and the outcomes to measure up to what the expectations should be. Which leads me to my last point. For Promise Zone funding that was just rolled out here recently, I would like to throw out a recommendation to the commissioners, and that the current funding is actually for a 12-month period from February 1 to January 31st. So February 1, 2016 to January 31st of 2017. I would recommend that the agencies that receive funding be extended for 20 months total. So it extends from February 1st of 2016 to September 30th of 2017 to be more consistent with the CHSP process, and then roll in the Promise Zone funding into the CHSP process and create a separate category for that funding. And that's my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob Renzi, followed by Ellen Pikalkevich.
Rob Renzi, 6410 Williams Road, current CEO of Big Bend Cares, but also president of the board for UPHS. First thing, commissioners and Mr. Mayor, is to thank you very much for all the funds that you've put into both the Promise Zone and CHSP over the last couple of years. Has really helped the agencies. I'd just like to limit my remarks to just option 4, that does not put the CHSP, the non-human services, into CHSP. It just doesn't make sense. You have an application that is entirely surrounding what agencies do for their clients. You have a volunteer process that would not be used. You have a budget presentation that wouldn't be used. You have a site visit that wouldn't be used. So how is it CHSP other than just saying it's CHSP? So it just, that process does not fit non-human services. I understand the county's issues with how non-direct agencies are funded, but I don't believe that this is the fix. So thank you for that consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ellen Pikalkevich, followed by Randy Nicholas.
Hi, and I have an overhead that I'm trying to get. Hi, I'm Ellen Pikalkevich, Executive Director of United Partners for Human Services, and I have several points to make, but the most important one that I'd like to discuss with you tonight is really to urge you to look at an increase for the CHSP process. We think that's one of the best programs that exists in our community. The return on investment, I think, is incredible in terms of contributing to quality of life and providing vital services to our residents. The county has already committed to an increase of $200,000. We are asking for an increase of $400,000 for FY 16-17 for CHSP. What you see on your overhead here, if you can see it, and it is fairly light, so I apologize. But it shows last year the regular CHSP, the amount that was available was about $4.1 million. The request totaled 6.4, and the funding gap, as I define it, was 2.2. For the mini grant, $226,000 was available. The requests were 1.3. The funding gap was 1.1 million. For the Promise Zone, the funding available was $480,000. The funding request totaled $2.3 million, and the funding gap is $1.8 million. The other thing I would note on the funding issues is that the county, yes, they have committed to the $200,000 increase for CHSP for this year, but they've also said that they will commit early on in the budget process so that we can avoid having a separate mini grant or Promise Zone grant process. So this year, as you can see, agencies had to submit 3 separate applications. We'd like to avoid that. On the JPB, we recommend that if the JPB is eliminated, that it be replaced with an alternative governance structure that clearly lays out how agencies can provide meaningful input on the process. And we recommend that you include your legal staffs, both the county and the city, to really, at the design phase, to make sure that all sunshine issues, for example, are laid out and discussed. We agree with the concept of multi-year funding. We feel that that's an exciting, innovative possibility for the future. And then finally, as other speakers have commented, we oppose the non-direct human services being included in the CHSP process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Randy Nicholas, then Courtney Atkins.
Hello, Commissioners. Randy Nicholas, 4482 Argyle Lane, and President of 211 Big Bend. I concur with all my colleagues who just spoke on the CHSP funding. We really appreciate your investment and additional funds that go into this process. I just finished my application today. It's due Friday, and I hear I'm one of 5 that have finished, so it's a very extensive, grueling process. So with that, I'd like to also recommend that if you could make it a 2-year funding cycle, that would be extremely helpful for all of us who work many hours on each year's application. Second, if you can also invest in more funds for CHSP for this coming year, we'd appreciate it, and also incorporate that into the existing process, which means you'd have to approve the funds before the April allocation process starts. Last year, I know you invested additional funds that went into play in December, which was a separate application process, and that was also a lot of extra work. So anything you can keep incorporating into the existing application process, so we only have to do it once a year, is very appreciative. And again, thank you for all your support, and I concur with the other speakers on the issue of joint planning board and also keeping the process pure to the direct human services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Courtney Atkins speaks next, followed by Marie Bryant. Ms. Bryant is the final speaker that I have on 1207 and also the final speaker that I have at this point on any of the agenda items.
Good afternoon. I'm Courtney Atkins, Executive Director of Whole Child Leon. I reside at 1420 Lee Avenue. And I'm here on behalf of the Whole Child Leon Board and staff, asking you not to support integrating non-service providing agencies into the CHSP process. Whole Child Leon is not a direct service provider. We engage providers, parents, and the community at large to address issues of young children and families. We kind of act as a catalyst and a convener to address those gaps and needs and create initiatives to take care of that. We have contracts with the city and the county that have deliverables and accountability measures in place, but those look very different than those of direct service agency providers. So we ask that you do not support integrating the non-direct service agencies into the CHSP process. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marie Bryant.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Marie Bryant, 518 Tall Top Drive, a Southside resident. I'm actually here, first of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for giving me this opportunity to be able to speak today. And also thank you for all the efforts that you have presided for in our community, from the Frenchtown to Providence to the South Side. What my main focus is to let you know that I'm very heavily involved in the South Side. I work on the South Side Task Force, also is a member of the South City Revitalization Council. I also is the vice president for the Neighborhood Association. But I did have an opportunity to work on the Promise Zone grant committee, and I really thank y'all for allowing me to work on that with that effort. That also gave me an opportunity to look in our community to find a few more citizens that would like to be educated and involved in what's going on. It is actually hurts sometimes when you go into professional areas and see people at professional levels, but not your own people. And I really feel like at this point in time, we need to start educating our community much better, getting the word out much better, leading our people much better than what we have been doing before. It really hurts sometimes when we go out to kind of represent ourselves. It's only one or two of us looking at the same efforts that everyone else is looking at. But I feel like it's time now to kind of pull down the walls and start leading our people to the direction that they need to go. Also, with being involved with the Promise Zone Committee, that also educated me to let me know really what it takes for us to get the benefits that we need in our community. But it also showed me all what you have to do to get where you need to go. So as I go out to some of the churches, as I go out into our community, I let our people know, don't think that this is a given effort. This is a benefit. People works behind the walls and behind the scenes that y'all don't even first know what it takes for us to get where we are at today. But I will encourage you all, please look amongst our citizens, look amongst our people, find other people like me, get our people involved, get our people educated, and get them trained to the position that I am at today.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you. I only have one other speaker, and that's on an unagendaed topic, so that concludes this portion, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, we're now on to consent, and we'll take them in the order in which they were pulled. 8.01, Commissioner Ziffer.
You want to move the rest of consent?
I think, yeah, there's a motion for the remainder.
Consent.
There's a motion for the remainder of consent.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. So from time to time, when the appointment processes come before us, I always take pause, and sometimes I don't say anything. And that, for me, the process still is a little bit of a problem because we find out and we get a name. First of all, let me say this. This has nothing to do with any of the people that are up for appointment. This has to do with our processes. I don't feel, and I don't know if there's agreement here, that any of us have enough input on filling some of these slots with suggested names that we might have. And so I have a little bit of a problem with that. And the other thing is, this particular day, we've got 3 different committees that are before us that we've done something that I don't think by design we want to do. And that is, if this proceeds as it is, the Downtown Improvement Authority is going to be 100% white. The Tallahassee Housing Authority is going to be 100% black. The Environmental Board is going to be 100% white. I don't think that's what we're trying to do here. I think we want diversity. Mayor, you and I were at the train station the other day, and you even made the comment. We looked out in the audience, and that was Tallahassee. It was representative of just about every walk of life and race and nationality, and it was a great thing to see. And I don't feel comfortable approving these. And like I said, it's not about the people. It's about this process, the appointees that we have, because we're ending up with an awful lot of committees that are one color or the other. And I don't think that's appropriate. And I don't think that works, and I don't think that's who we are. So if I can suggest, the first thing is that I think we ought to take a step back and maybe all of us, if they're not mayoral appointments, if they're commission appointments, to maybe make some other suggestions and have some type of review process put in place. And I'm more than happy to try to work with staff to figure out what that new policy is. But let's come up with a better way that all of us can have some type of input on who some of these appointments might be, do a better job of diversity among these different committees that we're appointing to, and spend a little more time on it. These are important, which is the other part to this, and that is after 6 years here, I rarely hear from any of these, which I think we need to do. So I guess what I'm suggesting is more thought needs to go into this. We need to take a step back and come up with a better process and recognize that this is important work we're doing. And so, having said that, I'm my comments.
I appreciate your comments, and let me just respond to a couple of them. One, the process that we follow is the charter, the city charter, which gives the mayor the opportunity to make appointments, and those that are direct appointments from the mayor's office that don't require commission approval, they're made, and those individuals go on to serve immediately. And then there are committees that are set out in the city charter that are mayoral appointments and commission approval. But it's expressed in the city charter that their name originates in the mayor's office and will then come to the commission for approval. And obviously in those cases, you have every right to express, your will and desire. I want to at least express one effort that we have done since I've been in the mayor's office with regard to appointments. And that is we have sent out literally to thousands of people a form to say, if you're interested in getting involved in the government on any commission, any committee, any issue, please complete the form and return it to us indicating your priorities of what you would like to, where you would like to serve. And each time one of these vacancies comes up, I then have our team go through, provide us everyone who demonstrated interest, and then make a selection and move it forward. Unfortunately, we still haven't gotten to where we want to get with regard to the volume of people being willing to step up. Even as certain opportunities have come up, we've made outreaches, and folks have said, I'm a little, too busy for that, can't do it. We have also, at least I'm told this, since I can't talk to you all directly before these appointments get made, that various members of our staff have asked, gone to members and said, do you know someone? Will you make a recommendation?
I've never had anybody.
Oh, they may not. Yeah. Well, then if that is the case, that no one has ever been consulted with regard to these appointments, then I stand corrected. And if that is the case, then I'm happy to put something in place that will collect your feedback on any individuals or any general ideas or scopes of appointments that you would like to have considered. In fact, Commissioner Miller, you have on several occasions come down and said, look at this person, I'm interested in this, and we have obliged on several occasions those recommendations as they have been brought to our attention. And I don't have any qualms with that at all. I do have a qualm with, and I think this is interesting, that there were hard lessons fought to get to the point of independently elected mayor. There are not a lot of obligations or responsibilities that are specific to that office. This is one of them. And John vigorously defended it. I'm going to vigorously defend it again here today. If you want it changed, then by all means, there's the charter process where the citizens get to vote, and you can go through that. But until that time, the mayor's office does have the responsibility and the authority to award appointments. And as I said in my earlier comments, I am overwhelmingly happy to have names come forward, recommendations come forward. Again, I can point to one example of my colleague to my right who does it, and we have obliged, and I can't think of an occasion where we have not. And so I don't want to be in the process of a solution in search of a problem versus the reverse. If there are folks that you have suggested or nominated or want to know more about, in fact, I believe that the records office, who lets me know when these things come up, keep a running list of who is up and when those terms are. It's public record. It can be sent to any commissioner who wants it. It's absolutely there. And so, with that, I'm happy to.
Okay. So you're going to take responsibility for appointing these different committees that are all one color? Because you're saying that these are your appointees.
No, sir. My point is that's absolutely not what I want to do.
Well, then I think we need to revisit this.
You're entitled to your own opinion, and I'm entitled to the appointment. And I'm happy to have input in that process. And I have worked that way up to this point to say, if you have names you want us to consider, please absolutely do so. But once the applications come in, once that deadline has passed, these boards need appointments. We have actually, just to give you an example, Commissioner, we have actually held out appointments for months because I was unsatisfied with the diversity numbers. Staff from the Treasurer Clerk's office have reached out repeatedly and said, Mayor, we don't have a quorum. Can you please act on the applications that we have before us? And so in an effort to make sure that we don't stall the process, I've acted on the names that we have. And if your challenge to me is that I don't value diversity, I would vehemently reject, and I would say, Judge, be my record there. And so there was a process in place. We plan to continue to follow it. And I am once again, saying to the Commission, if you have names, if you've got recommendations to make, I strongly encourage you to do so. There is a list that gets put to my office. I don't really know which ones are up until I'm told by the Treasurer Clerk's office what those are. When that happens, we go through the process and we make those appointments. Commissioner Miller, followed by Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mayor. And actually, I pulled item number 803 because I did have the opportunity to sit down with the chair of that particular committee yesterday and just talk about how it was going. And I can validate the mayor's statement that he has been trying to broaden the net, so to speak, and that there are issues with actually having a quorum, particularly on this particular committee. There are some solutions here. I think that one of them is that we need to utilize number 7 on our agendas, which is appearances by City Commission appointed boards and committees. And because really, I don't know how many of you, I know that I am not familiar with all of the committees that we have. I know some of them are mayoral appointees, some of them are commission approved appointees, but I would like for at least the commission-approved appointees to come to us at least once a year and share with us and the public what they do, what they've been doing, what their mission statement is, and what their reason for being is. Because the fact is that we are allocating public resources to support these committees. Mm-hmm. We staff them. We have the Treasurer Clerk. I don't know how on earth they keep up with all of our meetings, much less all of these committees. But they are minutes that are taken at all these committees. And so there's a tremendous amount of staffing that goes into this. Several of these committees have their own legal counsel. If they don't, then our staff is staffing them. So there's a tremendous amount of work here. So the first suggestion I would make was some accountability. Absolutely. Have these guys and women of every color come forward to us at each meeting, have someone come in with a report on what their activities have been to date. I know that since I've been here, I don't know if you all are aware of it, but this is an issue that I had before. And what I did come to with Mayor Marks was the fact that he would let us know when there was a vacancy, so that if we knew of someone that might be interested, then we could encourage that person to apply, because the fact is that not enough people are applying. Mm-hmm. I think that that's something, if we could ask you, Mayor, to begin to be a little bit more diligent about.
Happy to.
And the Treasurer Clerk also, when you let the Mayor's office know there's a vacancy, why don't you just let us know that there's a vacancy also? So that would be very easy, and that would help us to spread the word. So right now we've got 2 things that we can do to give a little bit more high profile to these committees and let people know, because people actually do watch WCOT. We can actually use our station to talk about the committees. There's an idea a week about how we can use this. But this is a way that the public can understand, well, wow, I might like to be interested in that committee. So that's the other thing.
I wanted to respond, Commissioner.
Wait,
happy to on number 2, and on number 1, absolutely. I will ask that the city manager and the treasurer clerk come up with a schedule for the boards that are commission approved to come before the council and give a report.
That's what I was going to ask you for. That was my final request. I would like to have an agenda item basically to bring us up to date on all of our committees, what they do, who they are, but I want to know more about what their actual work is. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but can you name our citizens committees, or even 5 of them other than like Planning Commission and Code Enforcement? Okay, so the agenda item on this specific topic, and I feel like I said, I feel that if we had more exposure of this topic altogether, that people would understand. I think that when we are going through our leadership academies and the other classes that people sign up for to learn more about the government, at the end of that time, they ought to be given a list and say, which one of these boards would you like to serve on? Because they're fresh, just as Marie said, I mean, they're ready to go. They really are ready. It is time to get folks to step up and be part of the leadership. So I think I covered everything I wanted to say at this point. So if we could possibly, I mean, there were some questions about the bylaws. I had at least a 30-minute meeting with our attorney today just about the different issues that Mr. Henderson had brought up to me yesterday. One of them had to do with the alternates and how the part they play in the committee. I mean, there's some things that we might want to look at. We certainly want to review these committees' bylaws to make sure they're consistent with one another. So all of that makes up a body of work that I think justifies an agenda item.
I appreciate it. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm intimately familiar with Leadership Mayor Forum because I'm the one that pushed it and gave up my seat to make the Leadership Mayor slot and publicly fought for it to get it passed through referendum. And you're correct, it is in the charter. The mayor does not, on commission appointments, have the right to appoint, but has the right to nominate. By custom, we have usually deferred to the mayor's appointments. I'm in favor of deferring to the mayor's appointments unless there's a problem. I think what you're hearing is that there's a problem tonight or this afternoon. My issue is, due to your good graces, I'm the airport commissioner. As such, I attend the airport advisory committee meetings. And so I'm there a lot. It says here that Ron Greenstein is a former member and his term expired in July of 2015. Yet Ron Greenstein is the current vice chair of the Airport Advisory Committee, and due to absences of the chair, has chaired the last 3 meetings. Mr. Greenstein, who's in the audience today, former Representative Greenstein, had no idea that he was not to be appointed until I called him this afternoon. I had no idea that he was not to be appointed until I saw the agenda item. When I spoke to the mayor's office about it, I was told that his term came up and he just, because no appointment was made, he sat in the seat. Well, there's a problem if a term ends July 15 and we're in February of 2016 and we haven't filled it. In this case, I heard the conversation earlier that we're trying to get more people to be on committees. Mr. Greenstein's an active member of this committee, has called airlines, has approached people, has been a out front person for the airport. So his commitment has been unwavering. So it's hard for me to defend an appointment that I wasn't asked about, I wasn't briefed about. I did not hear from airport staff or the mayor's office, and I have no good answer for. So I think the process is broken, and we can fix it. Obviously, the diversity is unintentional. Right? I think we all know that the diversity issue is unintentional. So let's just tighten it up. Let's see if we can fix it. And so I am fully in support of the charter the way it is today. I'm fully in support of the original things that I fought for in the summer of 1996 and the election of 1997. And I'm fully in support of custom that supports an active mayor. But I got to be able to answer people when they call me, and I don't think I have good justification here.
Got it. Mr. Mayor? Can I address that one real quickly? Because I have tremendous amount of respect for former Representative Greenstein, and I consider him a friend. What I was informed of was that his term had expired. There are term limits on there. I heard today before coming down here that he had a different impression about the term limit and the length of that than what was told to me. So I had them find out whether or not that was in fact the case, and I'll let the staff sort of respond to what the condition is on that. But I fully thought that he had met the limits of his opportunity. We had people who had been actively trying to get onto the airport advisory board. I had actively reached out to a diverse group of people who, what I was looking for were folks who had connections and previous expertise, and asked almost five different people around making appointment, and each of them had a conflict. There are strong conflict rules around that process. Then the last appointment who we ended up with, who is Mr. Ted Thomas, who I think is here tonight or was here, actively and very vigorously pursued it. We had heard, obviously, that we needed to move quickly because we had moved beyond the term. And so I made that I made his nomination, obviously, for you all to consider. But I did that under the impression that we had reached the limits of the term that was available. I would welcome whoever from staff can explain if there is a misinterpretation in that. And if there is, I'm happy to consider that in this process.
Mr. Mayor, on that particular item, because the first time I heard of that question was today, I don't have those specific details. We can certainly follow up on that. Our office does handle the administrative aspect of it, in that there are a number of boards, but they each obviously serve different departments of the city, so we're not necessarily involved on a meeting-by-meeting basis with the boards, and don't necessarily know that an individual may be serving as an officer on that board at a given time, but do try to provide the information of when terms expire. What I think would be very helpful is for me and possibly the city attorney to meet with each of you and your staff and get feedback from you on your specific concerns. You've each raised some different things. I think Commissioner Miller's suggestion of having boards and committees before you on a periodic basis would be beneficial. I think it seems that when names come to you, they just came open. But with almost all of our city boards, on an annual basis, there's at least one seat coming open. If you have a 5-member board and they serve 3-year terms, even if they're reappointed, almost every year there's an opening. So if any of you are aware of individuals who have an interest in serving or are well qualified to serve on a given board, that application process is ongoing. The mayor's office has made efforts to reach out to the community, but the list of boards and the current members and terms is available on talgov.com. I can work with you to make sure that your staff are able to access that easily. If there are things we need to tweak on that in terms of information available, we'll work with you to do that. So I think some of those items can be addressed almost more on an ongoing basis than an individual basis. And if there are tweaks that need to be made to the policy and the approach, we can certainly work with each of you to do that.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, if I could,
I just want to respond on the airport one. I want to get to the bottom of what the actual information is, and the sake of obviously hearing you all on that issue, I will hold that one back until we can get a more complete answer. And apologies to Mr. Thomas and Mr. Greenstein if there is conflict with regard to the information. And to reiterate the issue raised by the treasurer clerk with regard to the making you all aware of the seats, I'm all for that. I will obviously continue to maintain the ability to make these appointments, but am extremely happy to hear from anybody with regard to names or recommendations that folks may have. Commissioner Miller, followed by City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer Clerk, but in all due respect, we have a tremendous variety of issues that come across our desks on an even day, and my aide does not have time to go and add to her list of things to once a week check the list to see if there is some vacancy. It's very simple. When you notify the mayor's office that a vacancy is coming up or someone's term's expired, simply copy the rest of us so we'll be aware. And then if we have anyone that we know that might be interested, or if someone's mentioned, I mean, obviously right now, if somebody comes to me and says, I'd really like to be on the Planning Commission, I will encourage them to fill out an application. But it is, I am sorry to say, beyond our purview to check every week to make sure that there's some vacancy, when it's so easy to just copy us when you notify the mayor's office.
Understood.
Happy to have that happen as well. I'll come back to that. Commissioner Maddox, followed by Commissioner Richardson.
Just briefly, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your willingness to look at it again. I don't believe Mr. Greenstein's termed. I don't quibble with any of the appointees. I think that Mr. Thomas, Ms. Baggett, and Mr. Jones are all top drawer and will be fantastic appointees. So I don't have an issue with that. Another complication in the staff recommendation is even if there is a term limit, which I don't think there is.
You can serve 3-year terms on the Airport Authority Board.
So one of the suggestions and nominations from the mayor's office is to move a member that I presume is term limited to another seat to start term over.
I don't know that it's term limited. It has the majority amount of years left, maybe, and we moved
So
Darryl
you
Jones
basically
to one of
took
them.
a player to give more time in that one, and then somebody to fill the
Exactly.
unexpired term for a short period. So I think we need
Exactly.
to just get into the overall, and then finally, with all deference to the treasurer clerk, if I'm working on the airport and I'm going to those meetings, I don't want to check talgov.com to see who's applied and who's up. I mean, I think that's an inefficient use of my time. So I would expect that we would have some kind of reach out to say, you're going to these meetings, who's good, who's not good, who's up, who's helpful, who's not helpful, you know, and some type of reach out from staff or via email that's a public record. I think that input is important.
Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would hope that this is the last time we work an issue like this with individuals sitting in the room and names being called. I have never been in favor of that. I want to thank Commissioner Ziffer for raising this issue. I think it was a legitimate and important issue to raise and to be discussed. I've had some issues with the lack of diversity on some of our boards and commissions myself, and I can't say why I didn't bring it up. I should have. Commissioner Ziffer, I'm glad that you did. But I think what we're hearing is that we've got a process that needs some work. Mr. Mayor, it's not to beat up on your office or accuse you all of not including us, but it just suggests we've got some work to do to improve the process of appointments and to make it better, where all of us can feel like we're a part of that process and have a buy-in in terms of those people that come before us that we're being asked to vote on. And so I think Commissioner Miller's recommendations are very good recommendations that we should move on, and maybe we should look at having some type of written document that talks about how we will make appointments going forward that keeps us all in the loop with respect to making recommendations and appointments that come before us in the future.
Great. And in the meantime, what I'll also do is send out the form that we use and that we've sent out to folks, asking them to, even if a vacancy doesn't exist, to indicate their interest and willingness to serve. And if you will do us a favor and use that link and send it to the people that have expressed to you they're interested in serving, and we just haven't seen their names come across yet. So I'd appreciate that. Commissioner Ziffer.
Mayor Marks and his staff did it a little differently, and we respected his ability to make those appointments. But what he did before it got to the agenda item, he would send a note out saying that he's making this recommendation. And the reason why is if any of us thought there was somebody else, there was an opportunity before it showed up on talgov.com and in board docs in an official agenda, the person's name, because once the person's name is in there, it's very difficult to have that conversation, because then we're talking about a person, and they're all qualified by the time they get to that point. And so if I could suggest, and I like Commissioner Miller's suggestions, I think that's appropriate. Mr. Mayor, we appreciate you including us in those messages you send out, but perhaps follow what Mayor Marks did, and that is in advance of it showing up on the agenda, send us a note out saying, this is coming up, this is going to be my suggestion. It's not a point for us to vote on it at that point, but clearly if we think there may be somebody else to consider, we could do it at that point, and that way it happens before it happens in this meeting, if I could suggest that.
Mayor.
Yes.
If I can make one brief observation, there is a city commission policy on this, It's a very detailed policy that the Treasurer Clerk, in conjunction with our office, spent a lot of time putting together. We last reviewed it and revised it in 2013. I think all of the issues, with perhaps the exception of periodic reports to the Commission, or all of your concerns are at least addressed one way, including the demographic of the diversity issue. So I think that the Treasurer Clerk and certainly our office can work together to take everything you've said. There's some needed revision just because of charter changes. For example, there's a list of statutory or charter committees that's now attached to the policy. That hasn't been amended since we've had an independent ethics board. So all of this, I think, can be reviewed and brought back to you as part of an agenda item and hopefully take into account all the positive comments and ideas that have been mentioned this afternoon.
Great. So, Commissioners, as I said before, I will hold back on item 8.01 and try to figure out that what was described to me with regard to the term limits piece, and I would ask your consideration on the remaining items given the quorum considerations and the need for those boards to get about their work.
Move the item. Do you want to go one by one, or you will?
You can, with the exception of 8.01, you can make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Well, we approved the consent agenda. These were removed from the consent agenda.
You can replace them on consent, or you can go one by one through, whichever. It doesn't matter to me.
804.
Thank you. There's a motion on 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, I move, Mr. Mayor, that we approve the appointments for items 8.02, 03, and 04.
Second.
That leaves item 805 not addressed, I believe.
And 05. I didn't know if we take.
There's a motion and a second. All those.
Would you mind keeping 805 separate, if you wouldn't mind that?
I'd accept that as a friendly amendment.
Sure. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
Motion passes 4-1. 8.05. Commissioner Ziffer.
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Now we are on to items pulled. I'm sorry, Commissioner Maddox, I think your issue is next.
Which one? We're on.
I got that wrong. We're on to items pulled, and this is the appointments of the environmental. We looped that back into the last item.
8.01.
So we're now on, oh great, we get an update. You all have read in the news the $100 million gift that has been presented to Florida State University, which we believe is the largest in FSU's history. Approximately 80% of that gift from the Jim and Jan Moran will be used locally to benefit students' programs and initiatives in our very own community. I continue to say repeatedly how important entrepreneurship is, and organizations and efforts focused on entrepreneurship are to our community. And we tried to take our own steps by encouraging efforts like 1 Million Cups, our TEDx Tallahassee Startup Week, and those conversations that we've had around the Tallahassee Innovation Exchange Partnership. That all said, I am extremely, extremely happy to have come before us to give us a little bit of the taste of their vision going forward. Dr. Susan Ferrito, who is a member of the FSU Board of Trustees. She is the president of the FSU Faculty Senate and is the newly named director of the FSU Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship. And joining her will be Mr. Mike Campbell, who is a familiar face to us and is the director of the Florida Outreach for the Jim Moran Institute. I want to thank both of y'all for taking time to be here with us, and we're eagerly looking forward to hearing what you all have got planned.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, commissioners and city manager and everyone for having us. And what we wanted to do is just give a quick overview of this. The story is the school. It is the largest in the country, but I'm not going to steal her thunder, so I'll introduce Dr. Fiorito in a moment. But what we want to do is make sure what people understand what this gift was going to do. So Jan Moran and the Jim Moran Foundation have pledged $100 million to FSU, and that is to do three things. Now, even though the school is one of the biggest stories, majority of those funds is actually going to go to outreach. And so these funds are to expand our outreach services. They are to create the School of Entrepreneurship, and it's also to put us as a neighbor to you guys on North Monroe Street. As you've read, we just got the old Guarantee National Bank from Brian and Catherine Ballard with their generosity, and Ms. Moran's taking care of the build-out. So that's where the Institute and the school will be housed, knock on wood, in 2017. So let me talk real quickly about the Institute and what our plans are with the funds. One of the things we're going to be able to do is be a resource pool to for all the extracurricular activities that's off campus. So that means we're going to have funds available to help expand Arrow, to help the Junior Achievement Entrepreneurship Program. If y'all haven't heard yet, we've worked with Junior Achievement and just put entrepreneurship with 1,539 of our high school students have gone through the program this year, and we'll cap it off with a Shark Bowl in April. Y'all will get an invitation to that. This gift has also set us up to be a major resource statewide from an Institute outreach side. Our hope is to expand in a way to be statewide by 2019. So this year we are expanding into Jacksonville and Palm Beach County. We're already in Broward and Tallahassee. In 2018 we'll research Orlando and Tampa and open up operations there by 2019. And then the other core thing with the Institute, because in 2018, 17 to 18, the school will be split from the Institute. And Susan will talk a little bit about that. And so the Institute will be strictly in outreach and other activities that benefit the community. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to create the we don't know the name yet. It could be the JMI 100, but we're going to identify 100 of the FSU alum and Institute alums around the country. We're going to bring them in for a major awards presentation to Tallahassee, and that will be in 2017. And the other thing that we're going to expand is what our entrepreneurship boot camp for veterans. We bring in disabled veterans from around the country twice a year and put them through a rigorous training to get their businesses up and running. One thing I want to remind everybody, the Institute's mission is to help existing businesses grow and expand. We aren't on the startup side. The only startups that we do from the Institute side is working with the students, and now that's going to be on Dr. Fiorito. So having said that, I would like to introduce you to the founding director of the Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship. She is the chair of the entrepreneurship department at FSU right now, and also president of the faculty senate. So, and by the way, she is absolutely the best choice for this job. So, welcome, Susan.
Congratulations, Susan.
It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here and to talk about the school. And I think it's very, very exciting to be the largest single gift in Florida, $100 million, and to be able to have a school that like no other. Some of the points that make it unique is that we're truly going to be interdisciplinary. I don't know, those of you who know universities know that we're pretty siloed. And College of Business wants to teach College of Business students, and they don't want anyone else, et cetera, et cetera. But this school is going to pull from every single college in the university. We have 22 entrepreneurs in residence that are now currently in the university, and they're going to be teaching the courses. So we're going to have someone from the College of Law teach courses, someone from the College of Medicine, from Food and Nutrition, from Social Science. So we're very, very excited about this interdisciplinary school. We are applying now for the first degree in the state for entrepreneurship, a Bachelor's of Arts and a Bachelor of Science degree. We're hopefully going to have a soft launch in the fall of 2017, and then a formal launch in August of 2018, which would have been Jim Moran's 100th birthday. So we want to be up and going at that particular time. We really appreciate the generous gift of Catherine and Brian Ballard for the building, and it's moving along already through the architects. So the school is really going to provide us an opportunity to remove a lot of political barriers that hinder the growth of entrepreneurship at FSU, so we truly can be interdisciplinary. As I mentioned before, no other public university in the country teaches interdisciplinary entrepreneurship in the way that we're going to. And the vision was really Jim Moran's vision that we're going to carry out, being truly entrepreneurial in everything that we do. The school is going to work closely with the campus community and with the initiative that President Barron, Eric Barron, initiated, which is the Entrepreneurial University. And that under his direction, we were able to hire entrepreneur in residence in each of the different colleges across campus. The school will definitely ensure cross-campus branding, events. Once we're downtown, we hope to bring in the community and to have mentor nights so that people from the community can focus on mentoring our students in a place that they'll be able to learn from them. So we anticipate, as I mentioned before, a big activity around 2018 in August, and for Jim Moran's 100th birthday, and then a gradual expansion. One thing I wanted to mention to you, how we're going to pull in freshmen to this program. Typically, you know that courses are offered in majors to juniors and seniors. When students are freshmen and sophomore, they have liberal studies courses that they typically take. We are going to apply for an LLC, a living learning community, so that we are able, and that's a dorm for those people who don't know the new term. A dorm for entrepreneurship, so that freshmen are able to come in and focus on entrepreneurship, live in the dorm and have classes taught where they're living. We do, of course, hope that they occasionally go to their classes across campus in order to stay at FSU. So we want to be able to appeal to freshmen and sophomores, juniors and seniors, eventually a graduate program at FSU in entrepreneurship. And we also are very excited about possibly opening up to summer camps for high school students in entrepreneurship. So once we have our dorm, residence hall, then we'll be able to have possibly little workshops during the summer for our high school students in entrepreneurship, and having our faculty across campus teach them in the summer. I am going to answer directly to the provost, along with, so I'm the only school right now on campus. The rest of the colleges are colleges and have deans, and so that's going to be exciting once I have some money to hire people and do things, because for the first 2 years our money is going to the renovation of this wonderful building, and it will be beautiful. And then we'll be able to possibly hire people, but right now we're going to use all of the faculty we have on campus. We are working with the Council of Entrepreneurship, which is made up of all of the entrepreneurs in residence across the university, and it's very, very exciting. We meet once a month, and they're all going to help with the curriculum and the development of the curriculum and all of the activities that we're going to plan. We hope to eventually have 500 students, 250 to 400 within 3 years, and we're starting this fall with increasing our numbers. We have a limited access program now in the College of Business. We're increasing that from 40 to 60, and then the following year we'll increase it to 100, and then we'll eventually open it up to the entire campus and hopefully have 500. One thing we really want to ask all of the community is to try to encourage you to create opportunities for our entrepreneurial students to stay through funding, through mentorship, so that we can keep some of the best and the brightest and most innovative and creative businesses here in Tallahassee. And that's it, and I'm welcome to answer questions if you like.
Awesome.
Let me mention two quick things. One thing that I want to make sure everybody understands, majority of this money stays in Tallahassee, and it's not from here. It's from Jan Moran and the foundation from South Florida. And number two is we've got the students opening businesses anywhere from revenues from $1,000 to $1 million their first and second year. We got to figure out how to keep them here. And because the Institute doesn't do the startup side, once they leave school, they're out of the school. And so we've got to figure out as a community, how do we work together and get those kids to keep those businesses here and help with the economic development.
That's right.
Any questions?
Mike and Dr. Frito, thank you both, and congratulations on this. You all are, one of the things I got to do before being sworn in as mayor is I visited some cities that were really on the cusp around this entrepreneurship and innovation sector. And the mayor of Charleston at the time, who 40 years as the mayor of Charleston, reflected on when they began to invest in the entrepreneurial and the innovation disciplines and made those investments, the total look and feel of their community began to change. More bohemian, younger people, innovation, arts, culture, quality of life really started to expand in profound ways. And so just want to thank you all, because this is not just about what investments you're making in this new school, but the residual impacts that will benefit the larger community. So thank you and good luck.
Well, thank you, and we need to thank Jan Moran and the Jim Moran Foundation for making this happen.
Absolutely. Commissioner Richardson, followed by Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a wonderful presentation, and I think it will pay huge benefits for the city of Tallahassee and our downtown in particular. But I wanted to assure you all that we are taking steps to keep these young people and their ideas in Tallahassee. We've got Domi Station currently. There will be money in the sales tax extension for business incubation. Of course, we've got Innovation Park. So we will be taking affirmative steps with our funding even to keep these young people in the community when they come out with ideas for helping us to expand our private sector base and create a more vibrant economy for Tallahassee and our region. So we'll be partnering with you all in that respect.
Good. Thank you very much.
Great. Commissioner Miller.
And that was just my comment. I wanted to thank you so much for coming and sharing all of this with us and giving us the opportunity to see all of these details that you've presented to us, what your timelines are, and very much appreciated, because that is the way I feel our community will move forward, is in a partnership with all of the players, and certainly the most significant is FSU, FAMU, TCC. Universities are just tremendously important in that. So thanks for taking the time to come visit with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Thank y'all. Perfect. We're now on to item 10.02. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Several months ago, two parents, Jana McConaughey and Corinne Porcher, came out with a My View in the Tallahassee Democrat urging the school board and the superintendent to change high school start times. Backed by science, they had data that showed that children learn better, and especially teenagers, later in the morning rather than first thing in the morning. I wrote a My View after their suggestion. The school board last night acted on that and have come up with a two-tier system. And the two-tier system is basically this. If you, starting next year for, I guess, a pilot program here, if you are not transportation dependent, if you're a high school student that drives your own car or has someone that can drop them off and provides private transportation, you will be afforded the opportunity of a later start time. If you ride the school bus, you will not, and you will have to continue with the earlier start time. Well, that sets up two tiers in our education system as well. And many of those that already have current struggles, but coming to school prepared and ready to learn, are the ones that are riding the bus. So it doesn't answer the problem. It is a half step, and those that need it the most won't get it. However, I thought of a way that I think we can help. Star Metro currently provides transportation routes to Leon, Lincoln, Godby, and Rickards. We would have to add one to Childs. Star Metro, we currently have agreements with Florida State University and Florida A&M University, with Pace Center for Girls, also with a charter school to provide passes and transportation. And of course, each bus in Star Metro has 12 cameras. Each driver wears a uniform and has passed an FBI background check. Each bus can speak in radio communication with our consolidated dispatch agency. So it is a safe way for students to travel. What I would like to ask, and I'll make a motion to do so, is ask our city manager and staff to look into ways that Star Metro can assist the school district in providing transportation for high school students who currently ride the school buses and are transportationally disadvantaged, to allow them to take advantage of the later starting times.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, as you all know, I served on the school board a number of years ago, and this school start time issue is one that has perplexed the school district for years. Either you have the high school parents complaining that school starts too early, or the middle school parents complaining that it starts too late. It was always very difficult to keep everybody happy, and there were some years where we alternated from one year to the next in terms of the start time. So it's a very complicated issue. I applaud the superintendent and school board for what they have done this time around to try to address this issue, even at an additional cost of about $1.3 million for the school district. I guess the question that I would have, Commissioner Maddox, in light of the fact that we are subsidizing Star Metro as it is, what would be the additional cost to the city to provide that service?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, if I can respond.
Please.
That's exactly what I'm going to ask staff to come up with. And what I would suggest is that we approach the school district and offer a reduced rate, a subsidized rate, much like we do with other large groups, to provide this. So I too applaud the school board for taking the step they took. But an overwhelming number of Southside students will not take advantage of this, cannot take advantage of this. If they want to, they can't. So I want to try to help them. If we currently have buses that are in large part never at capacity, running those routes, and we can help out by transporting high school students that want the same advantage to succeed and learn on the south side as they have on the north side, I just think we ought to look into it, get the numbers back, and then make a decision.
Commissioner Ziffer.
Not to mention, in the student's mind, in that 15, 14, 16, 17, 18-year-old student's mind, to know that they can't take advantage of something because they don't have that car, because they don't have the wherewithal, because they happen to have been born in a place where they don't have that, is not something that I think we can idly stand by. Now, the school board, I recognize there are financial considerations. I understand that. But Commissioner Maddox is right. We've got a bus system that on many levels is underutilized. And I think there's the possibility to find out what that cost is, because it may be less than we think. Because I think it's important for us to do whatever we can to give opportunities for anyone in our community on an equal level, so that they can, particularly these young people, so that they can learn. And we all know, based upon the research that's been presented, young people, particularly high school students, just don't physiologically function at that early an hour. And to put a certain number of kids at a disadvantage is just wrong. So I'm supportive of this, and I think we should move forward with it.
If I understand the request correctly, it is to investigate the cost and feasibility of this. If what ultimately ends up happening is similar to what we have negotiated with FAMU or FSU with regard to, negotiated rates for students to ride, I'd be happy to see staff enter that conversation with the school district if they found such an agreement to be workable. But I would not want to be in a position of making a decision today that had cost implications that we didn't know. Commissioner Richardson?
Well, I guess the question that I would have is it's really not. It's not necessary. It is a question of the fiscal impact for the school district because, as I understand, it's already what they've got in place is going to have a fiscal impact of about $1 million or more. But the issue also for the school district is a transportation system that can accommodate these students. So it's not that they don't want to do it. It's just they don't have the buses, they don't have the drivers that can accommodate what's being proposed. I think they're taking an appropriate first step in offering what they're offering, studying it for a year, and then if it works, then they'll look at how hopefully they can expand it. But I don't know that it's necessary because I don't know that the school district is going to come back and say, in addition to the $1.3 million that we're paying, if you offer us this for another $1 million, that they're going to be able to make it work.
And I guess in response, because I made the comment about that is, then that's a decision point. And I think what I wouldn't be interested in doing, obviously, we've got an $8 million subsidy. Right. Already, I wouldn't be interested in going down that road without some fuller consideration of what that means. Commissioner Maddox?
Exactly, Mr. Mayor. There's no fiscal impact to this motion. But I would remind the Commission that we give bus passes to lots and lots and lots of different groups of people. People who have Purple Hearts, different veterans groups. We give the ability to ride our buses. My point is, you are going to have kids having to get to school at 7:30 because it's too expensive to change a yellow school bus, when they could get to school at 8:30 on an empty Star Metro bus. The taxpayer has one pocket. We ought to at least investigate whether they could ride a Star Metro bus and get to school at the later hour.
I don't disagree with that. What I did hear you say was there was one school that didn't have a route to get to it, and that would be new service and an expanded cost.
What I would suspect is that the school district would do a survey prior to next year's school year to find out how many from each school would take advantage of this. And so they would have numbers to know whether it's appropriate to run a route or not. But we certainly can, in the high schools that are currently being served, look at our start times and look at the ability to provide transportation.
Well, we don't get jurisdiction over start times, but I am fine with, as I just said, doing the due diligence to figure out what exactly this means. If it can be accommodated, obviously, by existing services and didn't have the impact of putting us in any additional debt, I think it's worth exploring. So, Commissioner Miller?
Could you repeat your motion, please?
My motion was to direct staff, the city manager and appropriate staff, to begin discussions with the school district and determining how Star Metro can assist in providing transportation to high school students to allow them to take advantage of the later start time.
And include any cost impacts.
Right, of course. If it has a fiscal impact, it will have to come back to this body, just like FAMU's agreement did, just like Florida State University's agreement did. Anything with a fiscal impact will have to come back here, and I assume that.
Commissioner Miller?
What you're proposing is that they look at what can be done with current resources as far as Star Metro is concerned, correct? Like,
No,
we've
ma'am.
got this bus system.
I'm sure that's part of it, but I can try to, perhaps I've made this too complex, although I don't think so. City manager would reach out to the school district. Star Metro has the current services that are in the current areas with the current times. I'm guessing now, like if I'm the city manager, to try to break it down. What are your needs and what are your times? How many people do I have on the bus during that time? How many students do you have that need the bus during that time, right?
Yes.
And then what routes would need to be added? Well, if you need to add a route, okay, this is the fiscal impact of that. Let's have a discussion back and forth, then bring it to the city commission. And the city commission says yay or nay on whatever the fiscal impact. It could be zero, it could be more than zero. And then the school board would do the same on the other end. And hopefully, in the next school year, some kids will get to ride the bus.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox.
All right, thanks.
And I hope, ultimately it would end in a negotiated conversation between likely the school board and us on what that looks like cost-wise, so on and so forth. Commissioners, I think we got a thorough assessment of the motion. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, we're now on to introduction of ordinances. There appear to be no ordinances for introduction. And now on to policy formation. Item 12.01, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, the Edison Restaurant opened for business on September 20, 2015. The lease agreement with Cascades Holding LLC calls for a business operation review 90 days after opening. That meeting was held on January 6, 2016. Among those items addressed were business hours, parking, licensing, building, maintenance, and neighborhood relations. The lease also provides that we can have these sort of meetings on an ongoing basis as the need arises. This agenda item seeks City Commission approval to accept this report and the 90-day business operations review, which is included as your attachment number 2. Correct. Judy Donahoe is here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, Commissioners?
Move we accept the report, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to accept.
Second.
There's a second. Commissioner Maddox.
But I will not waste the Commission's time on this issue, but I brought it up last time based on the fact that we are the landlord, and I think we should have serious consideration to closing times and the prohibition of outside events in the park and closing times that are reasonable for the surrounding neighborhood.
Appreciate that. There's a motion, a second. Do I hear any other conversation? Commissioner Ziffer.
I know that there was some discussion in that meeting, Commissioner Maddox, where we actually talked about, since we are the landlord, about actually restricting outside parties, as in outside regular business hours. And I either heard it, and I know that there was some apology because there was a recognition that perhaps it wasn't the best thing to do, but there's nothing official in here to prevent that from happening again, correct? Am I right?
Yes.
I mean, at any time there could be a party till 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. So I have a problem with that. I don't mind the hours they currently have till midnight. I understand that. They've got to run a business, but I don't think any of us have the intention that there be private parties till I don't know what time in the morning. So I would, if anybody else has an interest, at least have a discussion about curtailing those outside parties. Is there any interest?
Commissioner Miller.
I have an interest in discussing it in regards to all of the restaurants in town. I mean, after the El Patron situation, I think you can see how problematic this is. And so if you want to broaden the discussion to include everything, this particular issue was, you know, we talked for a year about the lease and what that should look like and so on and so forth. And so I'm uncomfortable in changing a lease in midstream or in actually 6 or 8 months after it's even started. But I do think it's a conversation that we need to have. So
in this case, we're the landlord, though.
It doesn't make any difference. I mean, to me, it's a problem that's citywide, and that can be part of the discussion. But the problem is this, and I think it's getting out of hand. I mean, basically, we've had this long hand-wringing about what the closing times were going to be, and yet it means nothing. I mean, there were no closing times in the first place, and then so we established these closing times, so it really doesn't make any difference what we do as long as people are able to lease out. Now, my understanding of the lease is that you can't really sublet your place, so there's that. And I think that the owners understand that too. But as far as my real concern is with all of these, this whole entire concept of being able to lease out your operation and then go on and on into the night and then possibly run into people actually getting killed in the process.
Commissioner, excuse me, Ziffer. I'm sorry. Did you have your hand up, no. Curtis? Oh, Curtis Richardson.
Well, and I don't think that we should, because we're the landlord, treat the Edison different than other restaurants and bars in the community. I think they have been very responsible. Even with that event, unless somebody else did, I didn't receive any complaints from the surrounding neighborhood about noise or parking. It was a very responsible event. It was a graduation event. They've acknowledged that. We do have a consistent closing time. And so I don't want to hamper them in terms of their business model if we're expecting them to be a profitable enterprise and in any way we take an affirmative step to hamper their business model to somehow interfere with that. I think they are being responsible tenants, if you will, and running a great business. And where we are at this point, without complaints from the surrounding neighborhoods, I think we leave well enough alone and move forward.
Commissioner Miller.
Well, I think that one of the main issues that we all had before was that we all understood there was going to be this 90-day or whatever the period of time it was evaluation, and I don't think any of us thought that was going to be something that happened with staff. And in fact, when we did have it, we had no idea that you'd had it, and so we were basically looking at each other like, well, it's time for that evaluation. Why haven't we had it yet? And lo and behold, you had. And so I think that that was important to be brought up. And my question is, how often do we have the opportunity? I think it was a very good discussion. The report you gave us back, because we are the landlord, I think we really need to have this type of report to us at least once a year. So what is the projected plan of evaluation and discussion with anybody that we have that's leasing a building? But in this case, since this is potentially offensive to the neighborhood, and I believe the owners have been pretty sensitive to that fact too, given their behavior to date, and but we'd like to encourage that in the future.
Our plan was, and as the lease provides, to have these sort of meetings as the need arises. Not necessarily have a set time where we have it annually. It provided for that first 90-day review. You establish a time, agreed on the times, the closing times. If issues arise, we have the authority to initiate that kind of meeting. If the commission wishes to be involved in those meetings and have a public meeting, just give us that direction and we'll make sure we schedule it on a commission meeting date.
Well, it would probably be my supposition is that probably the entry point for the complaint would be directed at one of us, probably. I doubt they're going to call, they might call the city manager's office, but probably the people that are going to hear about any problems are going to be sitting right up here. So as long as we understand that we have the prerogative to go to you and ask you to begin to have talks to resolve problems, then I'm comfortable with that.
I'm fine with the motion as it is, which is to accept the report. Also to commend the report and as well as the operators. I now hear people saying that they actually come to Tallahassee and deliberately ask to go to this place as being one of the attractions in Tallahassee, not just the restaurant, but obviously the park. It's interesting. It is appealing. It signals something very different about our community. And there have been zero complaints. Not one. Not a noise. Not a chirp. The one thing we heard was when this was brought up because the FAMU graduation, party took place, which was done and over by 1 a.m. The El Patron incident took place, and I believe it was like 11 p.m. So our late night closing times would have had nothing to do with that. Regulating whether it could be a building that is used by other folks, oftentimes I am confused by the motivation. I want to say good luck, Godspeed, continue to pay your rent on time, and make sure that we don't get inundated with complaints, and be responsible neighbors. And I believe that's been exhibited up to this point. I expect that it will continue to be exhibited. And frankly, thank you for what you're doing to make Tallahassee a place that people want to choose to stay in, live, and grow. So, Commissioner Miller.
Well, I just felt very compelled to bring one thing up. There is another business in the electric building that I want to invite you and everybody else in this community to visit, and that is called, Power Up, I believe is the name of it, but it is the Catalina Cafe, people. I think that's a more familiar name to folks. They've got 2 other locations in town. They have an absolutely wonderful menu for lunch. It's light, sandwiches and that sort of thing, but excellent coffee, wonderful place to go and meet. And so I just want to give a shout out to them, and because they're kind of hidden and we don't talk about them quite as much.
Commissioner Maddox.
Just briefly, again, I don't want to have the same debate twice. But I do want to clarify, I provided documentation at the last meeting that the party you were speaking of went till 3 a.m. I also provided documentation in the lease that it's to be a high-quality restaurant. I also provided documentation as to what times other high-quality restaurants closed. I just want that to be on the record, and I'm fine moving forward to voting.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to accept the report. All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
Motion passes 4-1. Commissioners, we're now on to the next item, 12.02.
12.02, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Julie Meadows Keefe, your ethics officer, is here to request a $95,000 supplemental appropriation to fund expenses for the Independent Ethics Office. Julie's prepared to provide an overview.
Good evening, Commissioners, and we did provide information in your packets regarding the reasons we need the additional appropriation. During last year's budget cycle, we tried to be very conscious of running the office quite efficiently, but at the time we were asked to prepare our budget, we did not know what we did not know at that time related to what would be required to run the office in the best way possible. And specifically, we started the office, we passed our bylaws, we did a lot of structural work, and it came to our attention, first of all, that the best practice was to have outside counsel. We then got outside counsel. Additionally, we, as we've looked at having processed our first complaint and run that through the probable cause process, the best practice is to have on retainer some investigators so that we're not internally investigating in the city. We need to perhaps have that resource. So what we're doing is we're projecting forward for the remainder of the year. We've been doing all right so far, running very efficient meetings, trying to be as cost effective as possible with the use of counsel. One new thing we're doing with use of counsel is talking to the board before we ask for him to write an opinion. So I'm here today to ask for this supplemental appropriation and answer any questions you may have.
I'll move approval.
So motion for approval.
Second.
Second. Commissioner Miller, followed by Commissioner Richardson.
Julie, thank you for everything you're doing. I think you're doing an excellent job, and I especially appreciate the training that you're giving to us and also to our staffs and also to our entire city staff. I just want to make sure people know that your purview does not end with just us. It also extends throughout the government to everyone that's involved. What is your total budget at this point, including today's $95,000 request?
It should be about $330,000.
$330,000. And you all have processed one?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The other question that I had, Julie, do you anticipate travel at some point, or attendance at professional meetings, professional development, and if so, is that built into your budget currently?
Commissioner, I have one conference that I attend yearly. It's called the Kogel Conference, and it's at various locations around the country. I went last year to Pittsburgh. This year it was in Boston. Next year it's in New Orleans. And what that is, it's a gathering of ethics professionals from all over the world. And we get people like Bill Peduto. We get national leaders come and talk about best practices for building and establishing and running ethics programs. And last year I attended for the first time. This last year I facilitated a discussion at a table about how to start up a new ethics program. And next year I've been asked to potentially speak about what's happening here in Tallahassee. So it's professional development for me, but it's also knowledge share when I come back.
Sure. Well, I just want to make sure that all of that is
budgeted for.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I would just say with this this increase, and I know we're still trying to figure out, the sweet spot, what works, is we don't want to do anything that it gets in the way of your ability and your office's ability to work. But by the same token, I know that sometimes when funds are allocated, they get spent. And I think you're projecting a little bit more, and hopefully by year 3 we have maybe some leveling out and a clear way forward with regard to the expenses associated with this. Not just this, but also the campaign.
Right.
Finance reimbursements, which that's not in your budget, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Which we don't really know where that's going to land. You allocated how much for?
Well, we had initially allocated $20,000 for that, but we haven't started receiving the applications back yet.
Okay. So that may go up or down, and we really don't know. Well, we may be at the high water mark, considering we're in a presidential year, but I have no clue about that.
We won't run the program again until 2018.
Right.
So that's when the next seats are open. And to your point about costs and trying to contain them, I kind of have paralleled this to a startup and getting a structure in place that functions well. I think you have to build it correctly. And actually the goal is that once those structures are established and we know what's required, we hope the cost will come down for the taxpayers.
Commissioner Miller.
One more thing. I did catch your meeting the other night, and I was pleased with what I saw as how your group interacts. Also, I want to commend you on the way you did handle the one complaint. I want to mention that it didn't have anything to do with any of us or any of the appointed officials, but I do want to mention, and I want you to pass along to your board my commendation as to how they handled that.
Thank you.
Great. Commissioners, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Item 12.03.
12.03 is the Stormwater Concurrency Agreement with Big Bend Cares. This item is the Stormwater Concurrency Agreement for the proposed Big Bend Cares development, which is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of South Monroe Street and Magnolia Drive. The proposed 2-story clinic building and related parking will occupy much of the site, but there is existing impervious area on the site beyond what the new development will immediately use. Rather than leave the unused impervious areas until future development plans are certain, the developer has proposed instead to remove all of that impervious area on the site at the time of the construction of the medical clinic building and seeks to maintain the credit for the unused impervious areas through this proposed agreement. The agreement as provided is for 3 years with a 2-year option.
Great. Any
Move
questions?
the item,
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. No questions. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Thank you, Karen. Item 12.04.
Commissioners, this item addresses that in June of last year, you approved the award of a 10-megawatt solar facility and authorized staff to negotiate with the top-ranked vendor, and the city manager to execute the required documents. Earlier this year, the top-ranked vendor withdrew from the process, and staff has been working with the second-ranked vendor. Based on discussions with this vendor, they can provide a 20-megawatt facility, double,
Wow.
in essentially the same footprint with pricing that is at or below the price they propose to the city. We're requesting your approval to increase the solar farm from 10 megawatts to 20 megawatts.
Move the item, Mr. Mayor.
So motion and a second, and just want to commend the staff on this project. We've said for a long time, and our citizens have told us, they don't want us to use dirty, non-renewable sources to power our future energy needs. And I don't know what the difference was between this. I mean, as I understood it before, it was like 10 acres for 1 megawatt. For you to be able to double that number, either is a miracle or a sign of the technology and how quickly it's changing. So I think it's tremendous, and I'm pleased to see us move in even further in this direction, and hope maybe in the future the Commission can have a conversation around, as we look at our energy plan and our energy future, how we do that by building on the renewable future rather than using dirty fuels. Did you have something on this, Mr. Attorney?
No, sir.
All right. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. We're now on to item 12.05.
12.05, Commissioners, this is in response to the February 10th City Commission workshop on the sense of place. You directed staff to procure a consultant to evaluate the land development code as it relates to the multimodal transportation district and provide other recommendations. We're seeking your approval of the scope of work outlined in this item and approval for funding up to $50,000.
Move option 1.
There's a motion and a second on option 1. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in full support of shrinking the multimodal district and enjoyed the conversation that we had at Target Issue. I'm going to vote against this item because I think we can do it with a map ourselves rather than pay somebody as a consultant to come back with as to why. We didn't used to have a multimodal district, and now we've got one that's too big. So we've got experience of not having one and one that's too big. That gives us enough experience to find the happy middle.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Ziffer.
Yeah, I agree with you, but there are other things, as in how do we incorporate drive-ins and all sorts of other elements that, quite frankly, I think we've struggled with. And so the idea is also to bring in a consultant that has seen these and done these and has some experience in how other areas like this have been successful. You're absolutely right, Commissioner. The size is unwieldy. We're getting into areas that, quite frankly, I don't think we fully anticipated. So that is a major consideration, but there are other parts of this too. So I look at some of our recent developments and say our staff has done a good job, but we can probably do better.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
Motion passes 4-1. We're now on to 12.06, Mr. Manager.
Can we move the item?
Second.
Any need for any introduction? Anything we need to know for the public?
No, sir.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Richardson.
The one thing that I did want to bring up, I noticed the venues that they outlined in the backup material, and one that I wanted to suggest that they add, if it at all possible, is Lake Anita.
As a venue?
As a venue, yes.
I think
Second that.
it's favorable. There's motion and a second. We got a beautiful facility.
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, Maddox.
Mr. Mayor, for the viewing public, this is to approve a partnership between the City of Tallahassee and Tallahassee Music Week, Inc. to waive permit fees for Tallahassee Music Week.
Great. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Miller.
Can I ask a question? You know, we have a group that's forming to talk about our sponsorships and our subsidies to various events that occur. And what is the status of that committee?
Where's Ashley?
Who's in charge of it?
Ashley.
Does anybody know?
Wake up,
Yes,
Ashley.
ma'am. We actually received the final round of appointments that were made to that committee, and we expect to have the committee's first meeting within the next week or two.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashley. I appreciate it. Should we break or should we just keep?
This is the last one.
12.07.
12.07.
Commissioners, the Community Human Services Partnership Program is a successful collaboration between the city, county, and the United Way. The policies which govern this program are developed collectively by the funding partners. The Leon County Commission has requested the city consider several modifications to the policies, and those options, along with several other issues, are outlined in this agenda item for your consideration. We're seeking your direction on these issues, and where appropriate, we'll bring back to the Commission specific policy language for considerations at a future meeting. Raul Lavin and Michael Parker are here to answer any questions. The issues you've heard discussed earlier today was a joint planning board. On the recommendation is to make the change. The recommendation is not to include the non-direct service providers as the county requested. The funding is there, and you can decide on the timing. 2 years, have us evaluate it and bring it back to you, and how to deal with the promise zone.
Great. Thank you for that. Commissioner Miller.
Well, I'm supportive of all of the options that our staff recommended. I would like to bring back up my comment earlier at a different meeting that I wanted to add another $400,000 to the promise zone allocation. That didn't mean coming from the CHSP commitment stays the same. The $400,000 that we've already committed to the promise zone stays the same, and I wanted to add another $400,000 to that.
Second.
And I will tell you what my reasoning is. We had a very thorough agenda item and for a workshop on the south side, and it was very clear to me through that agenda item information and also through the workshop itself that we are getting the biggest bang for the buck in the promise zone addressing these specific problems that folks have by the work that's being done by our nonprofits with folks there. And so I am delighted that we had the option to designate certain money to groups that are doing those vital services to those particularly targeted groups and trying to address the particularly targeted problems that they themselves have brought up. So that's why I'm interested in adding extra money. We spent a lot of money on our Southside strategy, $83 million and counting, and that's just in the last 10 years. And yet, here we're talking about $4 million. So I really feel that it's very important to add a little more to that effort.
Commissioner, if I understand your guidance is to maybe have staff come back with a way in which we envision accommodating that. If there's
well, I would just following the existing methods that we use this year, with the modifications that are recommended in the agenda item to make the processes consistent, things that the speakers have addressed. I'm very excited, by the way, to see the 2-year commitment. That is so critical to organizations for continuity. But I just feel that we haven't allocated enough, and we're early in the budget process, and I wanted to bring this up now so that tag that money and figure out best ways.
Right.
Commissioner, I agree with Commissioner Miller, and I think what we're suggesting is that we give staff direction to early on in the budget process include this money for those specific purposes in the promise zone.
Is there a question? Yes, Zephyr.
Okay. So you're adding $400,000 more than what's in the budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My only concern is...
Well, it's not in the... No, wait. We're talking about the 17 budget. We're talking about the FY17.
I know.
And basically, I'm saying that at this point, I'd like for us to commit to increasing the amount by that $400,000 at this point.
I'm going to be supportive, but my concern is we just approved all this, correct? Like 60 days ago? The Promise Zone does it?
No,
I mean, it wasn't that long ago, was it?
they've already had their application process. Can someone answer the?
How long ago did we approve?
We had a second round for the Promise Zone that
Right.
was approved at the end of January. The actual awards were approved at the end of January.
End of January, so we're looking at not even 30 days, and we're talking about what a huge success it was. And I don't know that yet.
I didn't mention, no, what I said was wasn't referring to that money. I was referring to all of the money that we've spent that has been spent over the last 10 years, and our discussion at the workshop. In going through all of that, my whole point or goal in all of this discussion about the South Side is to begin to be more judicious about how we spend the money and make sure that it solves the problems the people have. I'm not interested in gentrifying the area so they have to find new homes because they can't afford to live there anymore. I'm looking to address the problems that they specifically have. Community school, for example, that's one of the ways that I feel is very, very important to address the specific problems. And I feel that over the past 10 years, the records of the work the nonprofits have done and the CHSP investments into these areas have been more targeted to address the specific problems that have been vocalized than anything else we've done, and that's why I've been supportive of this particular method of using the human services financials, the money. Basically, this is our block grant money, most of it, and so I just feel that we're getting our money's worth in addressing the problems. I'm getting that our people in the South Side are getting their money's worth from our governmental investment and directing resources their way from the nonprofit sector more than any other investments that we're making.
I'm not arguing the targeting whatsoever. All I'm saying is in order to fully evaluate the effectiveness of anything, you have to have some kind of results. And up to this point, considering that we only approved this 30 days ago, we're not really in a position to do that. Now by the time we actually have our budget hearing and such in July, June, we'll hopefully have some preliminary results. I'm going to be supportive of the addition. All I'm saying is, be very clear, we don't know the results at this point because the money hasn't even really started to make its way into the process.
Commissioner Maddox.
The original motion I heard was to allocate $400,000 by Commissioner Miller. Then I heard Commissioner Richardson say that it come back from staff and be sent to us in a budget workshop. I just need clarification. Are we allocating dollars now outside the budget process, or are we having a vote for a preference to be brought before us during the budget process?
I think that basically what I'd like to do is target the money for the budget process.
Okay, so this consideration will come to us in a budget workshop?
Yes, sir.
Then I'm fine.
In addition to what staff has already authorized and the other items. If there's no other questions, all those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, so the additional $400,000.
This number changes.
Ma'am?
This number goes up by $400,000.
So we're dealing with $2 million instead of $1.6 million, and the additional $400,000 would be for the Promise Zone.
Correct.
Just as in this fiscal year, there was money that went through.
So what I propose is that in your March meeting, we bring an item back to deal with the timing, because that's going to be important.
Yes.
So
you were going to. Doesn't this authorize you to?
Well, yes, but the applications are due, I believe, in a week for the regular cycle.
Right.
So we're going to miss that boat, so we're going to have to determine how we're going to allocate the $400,000, either have another cycle or do some other way.
So I was...
Be aware, this money that I suggested adding has nothing to do with this fiscal year.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
We haven't discussed this, but I'm kind of consistent with the recommendation that was made around extending to the 20 months. So it actually gets you a little bit more for the 20 months, but it gets the cycle back on, which is what the intention is, so that folks know what's available and then how much can be allocated.
So if that's part of the motion, then we don't have to bring it back.
Your staff recommendations are part of the motion.
That's not a part. We're looking for
it's
direction
not.
on that one.
I'm sorry.
So the way it would work is the folks that were allocated funds for the promise zone would be allocated this $400,000 on a pro rata basis, without any applications. We'll just extend that out to 9/30 of 17.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's what we pay you for, to figure this out.
Correct. So
do the math.
basically what you said in the motion.
Okay. So if you add it to the motion.
Yeah, and if without objection, do we understand that? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, we're at the public hearing spot, and I'm told that there's only one speaker, so we're gonna run through it. City Attorney.
Item 1401 is first and only public hearing on ordinance number 16-0-03. It's an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending charter laws of the City of Tallahassee to revise the date of the City Commission reorganization, deleting obsolete information, revising the Treasury Clerk's duties relating to Commission minutes, revising provision canvassing of election returns, and amending the code of ordinances related to the canvassing board and certificates of election. And Jim Cook will further explain and answer any questions.
Mayor and Commissioners, the agenda item does the things the City Attorney just outlined. Primary among those is amending the city's code of ordinances to establish the reorganization meeting post-election to be 13 days following the general election rather than the current 17 days. That 13 days effectively makes it the Monday 2 weeks after the general election. This change also specifies that the election of a mayor pro tem in non-election years would occur at your first November meeting. That has not been specifically codified that way before, and we wanted to be sure that's specified. That is the ordinance as introduced. I had one question or suggestion that we have language that says the meeting will occur at the usual place for holding meetings of the legislative body unless a different place is specified by resolution not less than 30 days before the meeting. And the suggestion was that we also amend that to allow the meeting to occur on that specified date unless a different time or day is specified by resolution 30 days.
And I'll also provide substance behind why I made that recommendation. This year it fell on a Friday, which also happened to be a, downtown get down. And it also happened to be the big game. And so what I was hoping is that we give ourselves the flexibility to say within 30 days out, the commission can determine to move the date location.
There are no speakers on the item.
Okay. I move the item, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Well, so that is the motion with the suggestion.
I assume so.
Yes.
Yes.
Just clarifying for the record. Thank you.
Item 14.02 is first and only public hearing on ordinance number 16-Z-01. It's an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as and in residential preservation 2 with historical preservation overlay on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee.
There are no speakers.
Move the item.
There's a motion.
Second.
There is a speaker. There appears to be. Sir, can you come forward and we'll get a speaker card here in a moment?
Sorry, Mayor, this may be the
Okay.
Mr. Ronald Williams.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I apologize. I'm suffering from a little allergies. But my name is Ronald Williams, 2114 Broad Street. I want to speak in favor of your supporting this request to have this house put on the local register of historic places. This is, we want to thank Mr. Cornelius Jones for saving this home from being auctioned away about 2 years ago, and for recognizing that it was the home of an important figure, Coach Jake Gaither, who is one of the great Floridians. And third, for the insight to try to restore the home as close as possible to its original state, and for the hard work and personal sacrifice he has made in doing so. The restoration of this historic stone home is a great improvement on many scales. It improves, adds beauty, and adds value to the surrounding neighborhood environment, which includes the Florida A&M University and the neighborhoods surrounding the university. It is an important historical landmark for the city of Tallahassee, the state of Florida, and including the United States of America, since Coach Gaither's influence on his players, students, and fellow coaches has been felt all over the nation. And I might add, maybe other countries of the world also. So I just want to say that as a representative of the neighborhood, that you support this request to have this house put on the local register of historic places in Tallahassee.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion? I believe there is a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. And just want to also say Mr. Jones, Cornelius Jones, did an exceptional job on the refurbishing of the old Jake Gaither house, and it really is a true asset to this community.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
To not get him in trouble, we better include his wife as
yes.
well. She was an important part of that also.
That's right. Thank you, Commissioner. Item 14.03.
Item 14.03 is the first and only public hearing on ordinance 16-Z-02AA. It is a ordinance of the city of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as and in a PUD, plan unit development, on the official zoning map of the city of Tallahassee. I think Cherie or Wayne have a few comments on this. And we have one speaker, I believe.
Good evening. This is a PUD, as was mentioned, which we are recommending we are recommending to continue it to the March 23rd at this point. We had gone into the reports, which is what you had in your packets, recommending a conditional approval based on the conditions from the Planning Commission. Yesterday evening, we did receive some changes requested by the applicant. We had worked through some changes to ensure consistency with the PUD requirements in the code, and so those were some of the conditions that were placed by the DRC and the Planning Commission. At this point, we may be able to work through things. We're just not in a position to be able to speak for the other 4 departments on the DRC to ensure that they also are consistent with their requirements. So that's the basis of us asking for the continuation.
But you have no problem with them? You found them to be consistent?
No, at this point, we just haven't had enough time due to the lateness of the submittal to make an evaluation. I said that it's possible that we could work through those things given some additional time, but we just haven't been able to review them and then coordinate with the other departments. It's also difficult. It's probably not a good precedent to set for us to be making those changes on behalf of other departments at this late hour.
So folks, the staff recommendation is not what is in option 1. It is to take public hearing, have the testimony, close the public hearing, and continue deliberation and decision on the ordinance until a time certain, which would be 6:00 p.m. on March 23rd. That way we wouldn't need to re-advertise it.
Right. Commissioner Maddox?
Is the applicant okay with the delay?
I'm Wade Pitt, Inovia Consulting Group, 2015 Centerpoint Boulevard. Mayor, Commissioners, with all due respect to staff, we're talking about 2 changes that are coming to you in the Planning Commission agenda, Planning Commission conditions. I spoke to a member of staff yesterday. This was not a formal submittal. I told them this is the way I would address you tonight and ask that under the Planning Commission conditions, Condition 1A be revised to have a minimum setback of 6 feet and remove the maximum remove the shall not locate parking between the front of the building and the street. And then Condition 1C is to remove the phrase other than other than between the building and the street. That is the sum total of the changes that we are asking to be made to these conditions. Otherwise, this has been found to be consistent with the plan, as your agenda item indicates. We are of the mind that we do not want to artificially expand the multimodal transportation district, and that is exactly what these two conditions do. We have included approximately 60% of the conditions are directly from the multimodal transportation district standards, but those standards would have applied to the site regardless, just out of good planning, good landscape, good architect. So I would ask, like I said, with all due respect to planning staff, that the hearing not be continued and a vote taken based on the amended conditions.
Those two amended conditions.
That's correct.
Commissioner Maddox, followed by Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's why I wanted to hear from the applicant. So we have had discussion ad nauseum about the size of multimodal district. Why we would be creating a multimodal enclave well beyond the multimodal district stops. Why we would require the building that you'll have people sleeping in hotel beds up against Appalachian Parkway with the parking back behind, to me is nonsensical. I'm not going to vote for those restrictions on this when it comes back. So for me, I'm in favor of moving forward tonight, making the amendments that Mr. Pitt just discussed and passing it on.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
So moved.
Commissioner Richardson, followed by Commissioner Miller.
Those were going to be my remarks, Mr. Chairman. In light of the fact that we're paying a consultant a pretty hefty sum to come in here to help us and we've all expressed concerns about the size of the MMTD. I couldn't understand why we were going through this exercise and forcing these requirements on this developer. So I agree with Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you.
Well, my real question, it says in here, the 6-foot setback shall apply to all sides of the building. I don't know if that's where it is, but it basically says the setbacks are going to be from zero. There would be a minimum of a zero, and then it goes to 30. And I'm sitting there going, okay, it's a minimum of zero, but it's actually somewhere between 0 and 30. And you've chosen 6, which is already in here. I don't really get, and all you asked was to specifically say that 6-foot setback was in the front, correct?
All sides.
Okay, all right, all sides. Well, that is between 0 and 30.
No, it's 6 feet all around, with the exception of the western property line of Phase 2, the non-hotel site. At the Planning Commission public hearing, we consented to a 15-foot setback at the request of the property owner to our west, which is the Florida Osteopathic Building.
Medical Association.
So we conceded a 15-foot setback on his eastern property line, our western property line of Phase 2. That's the only exception to the 6-foot setback.
So that's going to remain the 15.
That's correct.
And you're not parking in front of the building?
That's correct.
No problem. Okay.
Commissioners, is there a motion?
Yes, sir.
There was.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
There was motion second, reflecting the comments made. I assume you have those in the record, City Attorney. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, we're now at the point of hearing from citizens. Are there any speakers?
We have one speaker, Mayor, Tom Thiebaud. Mr. Thiebaud?
Yeah, I believe Mr. Bibler is also.
Yes, and I had a single speaker card from Mr. Bibler, but I believe he did also mark the unagended speaker, so we'll take Mr. Thiebaud and then Mr. Bibler.
It's right here, Brad. This is one of the main proposals or information that I've been trying to get out. Okay, I've got a lot of proposals that I'm hoping to get some help on. I just talked with one of the officers today. I'm hoping to get some progress on it. But I'm wondering, Tallahassee is making big strides in certain areas, and I'm wondering why is it that Tallahassee wouldn't be looking towards very environmentally sound. It doesn't seem like there's so much possibility with the projects that y'all are working on, where you could do so much on bringing people to connect with nature, with life on a very high level. And one of my best proposals is about the 100% natural CLC, the 100% natural NORA's natural stream system. And that, like I said before, that would prove electricity connects with and manipulates the environment that it's in to be in the same direction as said energy that produces said electricity is going in. It's trying to promote. That would be monumental in changing the direction, the way people try to promote, try to make electricity happen. Do things environmentally sound instead. But this is a write-up. This is a complete, pretty much view of all of my proposals that I have. I gave one of them. I made a copy of this and gave it to you all before. I have most of these proposals completely done. I definitely have them in my head. And like I said, I'm hoping that I didn't get to see Reese Gooden. Goad? I didn't get to see Reese, talk with Reese Goad. But I did get to speak with his aide, and we had a half-hour, 20-minute discussion. But I hope that if Reese Goad's office isn't going to be able to help me, if I just need to be able to make some connections, even be able to. Every once in a while, be able to get to a phone, to be able to call up on these connections that I made and get the information that I'm looking for. Possibly. That's the major anything I need. And then somebody to look at my proposals and help me to critique them.
Thank you. Sir, Mr. Reese Goad's in the back there with the striped tie and gray and black hair. Yeah. If you'll stand up, Mr. Goad, so you can see it. There he is.
I've never seen him not be able to fix things, so... Thank you, Reese. Are there any additional speakers?
Mr.
Bart Bibler. Oh, Mr. Bibler, please come forward.
He'll be our last speaker for the evening, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
You're going to have to cast this.
Hand it to me.
That's not right. Turn my chair around.
We good?
Ready, set.
Oh, okay. Hey, we'll pass them down. You can go ahead and get started. We'll pass these down.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bart Bibler, Tallahassee, 350.org has been established. It's affiliated with an international climate change organization, 350.org. And we've issued a climate change litmus test. And we're issuing it here to the 5 of you elected officials. And it's very straightforward. You've all heard of climate deniers. We're hoping everybody becomes a climate affirmer. And what is a climate affirmer? A climate affirmer is affirming that climate change is real and is now primarily caused by human activity. and that it's essential that we immediately and aggressively mitigate the consequences of climate change. I think that every elected official, after this long awareness of climate change, should be able to make their position, whether they're a denier or they're an affirmer, really quickly. This has been issued to every member of the House and Senate. It's been issued to the governor, to Commissioner Putnam, to the head of Department of Environmental Protection. And I gave each of those elected officials 5 days. Said, if I don't hear from you, I guess I'm going to have to put you under the category of a denier. But if you let me know, I'll be glad, and I hope you are an affirmer, and I'll be glad to move you to an affirmer. But if I get no response, I got to start you out as a denier. So this is now being expanded to my local elected officials. I'm pretty confident each of you is an affirmer, and I really hope you are, and I hope you send the message that this should be taken seriously, because this is really a serious issue. It's the future of our planet. And if we all become affirmers and we cut across the Republican partisan divide where Republicans are afraid to say they're affirmers, I mean, wouldn't that be incredible? And we could hold hands and start addressing climate change. And it's really interesting. I've gotten 12 positions already out of the House and Senate, and some were right away. Some tore it up in front of my face, and I said, well, I guess you're a denier. Okay. Governor Scott didn't respond after multiple tries. I went to his office, talked to his press office, and whatever, multiple times. He's in the denier column. Glad to move him. Hope I can move him. I think what's going to be interesting is Commissioner Putnam. The energy office is located within his agency, so I sure hope he becomes an affirmer. I was disappointed with representative who represents the Florida Keys, a Republican representative in the Florida Keys, very sensitive to sea level rise.
Excuse me, your 3 minutes have expired.
Yes. So I urge you to consider becoming affirmers. Every position is on my website, Tallahassee350.org. It's all for public view. I hope the press asks. I hope people ask for people's position. I hope everybody becomes an affirmer. I think it should be applied to candidates of all types, presidential candidates. I think it will drive policy, legislative policy, local government policy. I think it affects our presidential candidates. This is personal, I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders. I think we need to get money out of politics. I think we need to rein the corporations in if we have any chance. So that's just where I'm coming from.
Not proper conversation.
But this issue is crucial to our future. I hope you take it seriously. You can see the positions. They're all on a website. It's all going to be done by this weekend.
Great. Thank you very much. City Attorney informs me that there's a matter to be reconsidered. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apparently, we didn't quite get it right on the motion, so I move that we reconsider item 14.03.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
This was the
second item.
Okay. There's a motion and a second for reconsideration, which will bring us back to discussion. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes. We're back at the original issue.
Okay. Mr. Pitt, either you or Cherie want to address the commission on.
Mr. Pitt had, at the question that was asked regarding whether the parking would be in front, and correct me, Wade, if I do speak this incorrectly, was asked if there would be parking in front of the building. He answered there would not. He said that he came back and asked staff to let you know that it actually would allow parking. The changes would allow that parking, and so we'd like for the motion to be reconsidered.
Honestly, could we get some clarity here and consistency between staff? I don't think excuse me for having the floor, but the fact is that I don't think I have ever gotten to a commission meeting where the recommended action was no longer the recommended action. And I mean, we may have changed it as we went along, but the fact that the paperwork that we have in front of us is not the same as the reality, I have a problem with that. No matter what the reason is, that's why we have board docs. So at some point prior to the meeting, I'm sure that somebody knew this, and I would appreciate it if you all would address that in the future so that what we are looking at is actually what the reality is. And then moving on, would you explain the discrepancy between the differences of opinion?
First, that was we understand, and that was we wanted to be able to bring you a complete and clean package, and that was the reason that we would suggested additional time, which is which we'll be happy to now work with the applicant. But I am going to let Mr. Pitt get up at this point and explain the difference in what he answered for your question versus what I think was the actual answer.
Mr. Pitt, could you restate as you come forward the two amendments that you have?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you for the opportunity to hear me again. But in response to questions from Commissioner Miller, I misspoke about parking in the front of the buildings. My proposal is to not have parking in front of buildings and the street. That's it, pure and simple. And I think I stated that there would not be parking in response to a question that Commissioner Miller asked. I misspoke. We're requesting that 1A be amended to eliminate the requirement that we not park in front of the building.
Okay, can you list all of the amendments that you requested?
Just for clarity's sake, what you're saying then is that you want the prohibition from no parking to be removed so that there can be parking?
That's correct.
Can you state with specificity the amendments?
We would request that condition 1A be amended, that phase 2 building will have a minimum setback of 6 feet with the exception of 15 feet on its western property line.
Okay.
Period. It removes and shall not locate parking between the front of the building and the street. That comes out of that condition. And
which is consistent with the MMTD.
Okay, and then...
That is an MMTD condition, right. Correct.
Right. Okay.
And then condition 1C, we're asking that the phrase be struck, location of off-street parking, the phrase other than between the building and the street, that be struck so that the 1C reads, location of off-street parking is unrestricted except as required to meet perimeter landscape requirements. That's the sum total of the changes.
Commissioner Meadows.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we approve the item with the following two amendments. 1A amended to where it says phase 2 building with 6 feet setback with the exception of 15 feet on the west side.
Of phase 2.
Of phase 2.
Yes.
And item 1C, strike other than between building and street.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. A question to Cherie. How long would you all anticipate this taking if you were to have a more complete conversation with the applicant?
We had asked for March 23rd, so I mean that would be sufficient time to do that. If I believe there's an earlier meeting in March, if that were the goal to look at that, I'm sure we could. I don't think we're not going to have one in March.
The next meeting is March 23rd. March 23rd.
So that would be the next available option to do it.
Got it. I actually don't even know whether I have a problem at all with the changes, but I know that I don't like the idea that staff is asking for an opportunity to have a more complete conversation, and where we find ourselves are kind of a statement's made, it's a mistake, we go back, a reconsideration, and now we get it restated from a commissioner, these changes. And so I'll just, it may go forward. And again, I'm not opposed necessarily to this item, but I think, we ought to have a process here that we respect. So that's my condition. Commissioner Ziffer.
The original, and I've turned my iPad off because I thought we were done with this, but the original before us said a minimum of 0 feet and a maximum of 30, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but now we're going a minimum of 6 and no maximum.
That's correct.
So this building could be set back,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Except on the western property line.
I understand.
Phase 2, 15 feet.
Minimum of 15 feet.
Correct.
It could be set back further, but I'm not really concerned about that because that's clearly a neighbor. I'm not sure I feel comfortable with not knowing where this building is going to be on the parcel. And so right now we're basically being asked to approve something that we have no idea whatsoever where it'll be, correct?
That's correct, but keep in mind that this is a concept plan just setting in motion the standards which will control where that building will be placed. You know, it could be placed 7 feet back, or it can be placed 30 feet back.
But that would be up to you.
That would be up to the client, to the applicant, yes.
Right. We approve this, we have no more control over that at all. And that makes me uneasy because I understand your concern and I want to be supportive, but not having at least some parameters is bothersome to me, and clearly it's an issue with our staff. So I'm reluctant to just leave it unlimited, and so at this point I would be more along the lines of trying to have staff work it out and come back to us in 30 days or whenever that is. And I'm sorry, but having it wide open like that doesn't.
Well, I would just offer that, you know, in most of your traditional zoning districts, you got a minimum setback. You don't have a max. And so that's what we have here.
Yeah.
Commissioner Richardson, did I see your hand? Yeah. I'm sorry. There's a motion on the floor as stated by Commissioner Maddox, I think understood by legal. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, no. No. I don't know.
And I have not voted at all because I'm still trying to figure out exactly who's asking for what. The main reason, and I hate to interfere with the vote, but the main reason is the multimodal standard references that you all keep just bringing up. And I just don't understand really where those fit into this. And I guess really my question is, this is a PUD. Let's just forget about the multimodal standards. Do we have issues with this PUD as it's presented? That would be the question that I would like an answer to.
Happy to answer.
So, Mr. Mayor, we're back in discussion.
We're right now, I haven't announced a vote count yet.
With all due respect to Mr. Pitt, I do want to reframe the question a little bit. We're discussing the MMTD standards, and that's actually, those came out as a solution to solve a bigger problem. The bigger problem was that, and you may recall this from the public comments that you received on the Lafayette Park PUD. PUDs are supposed to give something to the public in response for a request of a change to the code. And so this was a request to vary something in basically the CP district, but as originally submitted, staff didn't feel that it was meeting the minimum requirements for a PUD. So in the discussions back and forth with the applicant, the idea of, well, perhaps we could include and apply some of the MMTD standards as a basis in order to provide that additional give and take, in order to provide that additional standard that the PUD was going above and beyond what a zoning district would require. So that's how they came into question. So it's not a question of MMTD or not MMTD. They were just used because they're an existing standard that we could borrow from. So they were borrowed from to put in here as a basis for the condition. So that really is what was at question, and that was why staff wanted some additional time with the change to be able to go back and look at the proposed change to make sure that, yes, indeed, it does meet the minimum requirements for a PUD with this change.
Well, what other, if you allow parking, I don't,
Was at one point, was this ever agreed to?
Yes.
By the applicant?
Yes, it was agreed to at the Planning Commission, which was the first Tuesday of this month. So
how did we get here? It was agreed to.
It was agreed to.
And now it's
Correct.
being backed off of.
Yesterday afternoon or yesterday evening, we received correspondence from the consultant that it was no longer going to work.
I have real discomfort with the way this is all happening. I think, again, I may at the end of the day be 1,000% supportive of where this thing ends up, but you have an agreement, we got an agenda item, it doesn't reflect what that is, we've got these last minute sort of transactions here. again, we may all be fine with it at the end of the day. I would just love for staff to be able to take the time with the applicant and bring this back. Commissioners, where we are now is we are taking a vote. I have asked for the ayes and the noes, and I haven't announced the vote outcome. So, again, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. I'll restate the motion.
Make the motion.
The motion is, as has been stated, the three amendments requested by the applicant, restated by Commissioner Maddox, and seconded by Commissioner Richardson. If the motion fails, then I'm assuming staff, I don't know actually if we have to go back and then affirm staff's request, which is to close.
If the motion fails, then we go back and vote on staff recommendation, which is to close the public hearing and to reset the final action on this and deliberation and vote by the commission for March 23rd.
Got it. So the motion on the floor is, as been stated, Commissioner Maddox's motion. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, no. No.
Rock on. We got to vote.
All right. I think
We're rolling now.
I think the vote count is 2-3, and the motion fails. We're back on staff's original request, which is I beg your pardon.
It's reheard on the 23rd of March.
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. The 23rd.
Move we close the public hearing and continue
the
final action on the item to the City Commission meeting on March 23rd.
Second. So the motion is, as has been stated by Commissioner Maddox, to go ahead and close tonight's public hearing. This will appear as a regular agenda item on the 23rd.
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Commissioners, we're now on sharing of ideas. Commissioner Maddox, followed by Commissioner Richardson, followed by Commissioner Maddox. Ziffer. And did I see your hand? And then Commissioner Miller. And then I'll put myself in queue. So everybody's got something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Briefly, the Florida Senate today passed Senate Bill 222 to amend Florida Statute 316.1964 that requires us to grant free parking at the airport to any vehicle displaying specific license plates issued to disabled veterans of Florida as of July 1st, 2016. I think this is great legislation, but I have to add a caveat. I've got a friend, Leland Edward Ed McCann, who is a disabled veteran. He fought in the 199th Light Infantry Brigade in Vietnam, and I could not think of a better person who deserves free parking and the ability to park up close, so it's easier for him to get in and out of the airport. And as a rule, I don't like the usurpment of local control. I'm a believer in home rule. So I would like to ask the Commission to consider that we implement this starting March 1st ahead of the state legislation, which would require us to do it July 1. And that's my motion.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion to second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think things kind of got ahead of me in respect to what I'm going to do this evening, and unfortunately my interns have left. I understand there were some questions concerning the interns. And in light of that, we did send out yesterday an email introducing the 3 interns that my office has brought on board. I understand this has been practiced in the past, that interns have served in the commission suite, and so we've elected to do that. And those young people have started. And like I said, I understand there were some questions concerning that, but these are 3 young people from Florida A&M University. They all are political science majors. They are volunteer interns. This is at no expense to the city of Tallahassee. They are here for the experience of serving and watching how government works in their city. I know at least one anticipates being an attorney at some point. But the 3 are Gabrielle Gordon, Mariah Jackson, and Dante Thomas. You all that are in the commission suite and maybe even around the building now have seen them, so I hope that when you see them again that you would personally welcome them to City Hall and be as helpful to them as I'm sure they will be to you if there are needs that you have that they can help you with. But that's why you see them around the suite, and we certainly are looking forward to them and giving them that the experience of being here at City Hall and seeing how their government works. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller had a question, I think, specific.
Yes, I do,
to
and
your...
I did have some questions about the interns, and I congratulate all of you for bringing interns on. I brought an intern on once. It took almost an act of Congress to get her some equipment and to get her a place to work, even though nobody was in the back portion of our offices. And right now I have actually lost count of the number of people, and so this is basically, I don't know how many more interns we can afford to have. It's not a matter of the fact that they're not being paid. They're being supplied with equipment and space. And certainly at this point, unless I put an intern in my aide's office, there is certainly no other space for anybody else to put anybody. And I've always had an open door policy that I just have these mints on my table that people can come in and get anywhere, but lately I have to go every single other week to get another bag because the mints disappear overnight. That's no big deal.
Dustin's been eating them.
The larger,
I've seen
really.
It.
I should have known. I will speak to him about that as he knows I'll speak to him every time I have an issue. But one of the issues that we did speak about is the use of the coffee and the creamer and on and on and on. So if you would just ask your folks to be respectful, if they want to use something, make sure they replace it. They don't make a lot of noise. We have no noise issues, and of course I've been measuring the decibel levels closely. But we are pretty much maxing out, and I don't know that I can be supportive of just an unlimited ability for everybody to just hire as many interns as they want.
Just on that, on the subject, I'm a big fan of internships, and I actually get the concern around. I get the concern around making sure that we make sure we got the appropriate space allocations. If commissioners wanted to bring someone on the mayor's office, that we are able to accommodate for that. I think we have to be respectful and responsible to do that. And if that becomes an issue, we can resolve it. But one of the big reasons why those things mean so much to me is because I know what it meant for me when I got the chance to do it. It was one of those life-changing trajectory moments for me in high school when I had a chance to do that. And so I've always valued creating those opportunities. And I'm not saying I don't perceive you to say that you don't. And so I've done it ever since I've been elected up here. I've had Angie's behest on some occasions, because she, it causes her to have to do more management and sometimes takes away from. But I think she's fully, embraced that this is a value-add experience for these individuals, and that we should do what we can to have those available to them. So, to your point around the allocation and the respectfulness and the replenishing, I don't know that that's been an issue up to this point, but we will absolutely. I certainly will be responsive to that if we hear it.
And certainly, Mr. Mayor, if there are issues with space availability, we can work the schedules so that everybody has access to space when they're here. We don't have a problem with that.
Right. Commissioner Ziffer.
As I recall, normally when we have our retreat, we, used to be we would identify target issue groups that we'd be part of, and part of that also involved, as I recall, finding spots in various organizations that the City Commission has representatives from serve on. Okay? And I don't know about any of you, but some of the ones I'm on, I am ready to allow someone else to perhaps fill that void, and maybe somebody else has a desire to move on and do something else. So could we maybe, I'm not sure who does this, compile a list of all the different boards we all serve on and maybe put a check if we're ready to move? Because I'm just ready for some other challenges, and it seems to me that we have a lot of different things going on, and maybe others want to do that too.
Mr. Manager, would you be willing to collect the from commissioners what their respective current assignments, obligations are, and then allow us to circulate that and
It
determine
is
which ones are
crucial, I
priority.
think, that our mayor serves on the CRPTA.
I was going to say,
I have
mayor of the
seniority.
city is that's
I
important.
served there the longest.
Not as mayor. Not as mayor. I think it's crucial.
That was the only one that I was going to leave off the list.
I was
There's no
gonna
changes
suggest
on
that
the
you take
CRTPA.
that
Not
on.
going to happen.
No changes on the CRTPA. We keep it as it is.
If you'd like.
Oh,
Oh, we're not on it. You're right.
I don't
All right, this is a lightheaded moment. We really do appreciate the work of the CRTPA.
I think there's an opportunity for some of us to do different things.
We'll do. Commissioner Miller?
That's your sharing?
That's it.
Like it? Oh, I got plenty. Let me just get right into it. First of all, I would like to, apologize for this, but I've got to revisit 1207 because that was the one about CHSP, and in there you referenced that you're going to form an executive committee or something like that. I'd like a timeline on that. Just not open-ended and we never hear from it again. I would like to know how long you think that'll take you and when you'll be back to.
It's coming back to you in March.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. All right, the other thing, I want to commend the staff, Ms. Senator Manning, Ms. Melissa Ingram, Ms. Allie Fleming, Commissioner Maddox, the mayor. I want to, and Commissioner Richardson was on the train. Commissioner Ziffer was at the station to greet us when we came home. That was absolutely the most fabulous event. Everyone pitched in and pulled it off. The community was there. As we mentioned before, children, adults, every age group, every conceivable person was represented, and it was definitely made an impression on the Southern Rail commissioners that were on, and the decision makers from Amtrak who were on the train. So thank you all for that.
Hear, hear. Well done, team.
Finally, and this is something that I was talking to the manager about. You may have seen this article about DEP begins action plan for Colorado Springs. And in this article, it says DEP is looking for 8 citizens willing to serve on an advisory committee to work on plans for restoring, et cetera. Down in the paperwork, it defines some folks. Committee will have 8 members. Group that will be represented include, and they go on to list, homeowners associations, environmentalists, and this is a good opportunity for the public, if you're interested in one of these, to please follow up on this. Representatives of Wakulla and Leon County Commissions, City of Tallahassee, Department of Health, and community leaders. On the City of Tallahassee piece, I would like for that person to be a technical person, somebody that knows something about this, and this is a topic that we have plenty of staff people.
You should do it.
I don't want to do it.
Right.
I don't, no.
Mr. Mayor, call the question.
I said a staff person. I am not included in that list.
Debbie Lightsey.
How can I say no?
Second.
A staff person, well, I've not accomplished my goal here yet, and I'm not going to give up. I want somebody from our staff. I do not want one of us or, so just saying. I'm sharing. You can decide for yourself.
We can find somebody.
It's me. It's not going to be me.
Commissioner, we can find somebody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. And that's it.
All right. Commissioners, just one item. We have been getting some response from some of our university partners around the pricing of hotels during games. And it being a bit of a concern. And one of the things that folks in our community have turned to, and I'm not sure how widespread this is the renting out of homes. You're familiar with Airbnb I know for my family, when we travel, we now go on home away from home, look for a place because it's just easy to navigate given what we've got going on. And so to the extent that this is an emerging area in our community, the Airbnbs of the world. We're clearly in a different time with a sharing economy. I don't think it's anything that we necessarily want to dissuade from happening, but I would really love if we could get our city attorney to start thinking proactively around if there are ordinances governing this process that we need to look at, that they begin that process and bring something back for our consideration.
There are substantial problems with vacation rentals in some markets along the coast where you have, exceptional number of people staying there and they all have their own vehicle, and then there's noise issues, and so it's probably a good idea for us to at least take a look at it.
I agree, and also this has been discussed over at the Downtown Improvement Authority. No, I'm sorry, take it back. I'm on too many committees. The Tourist Development Council, which I would like to stay on, by the way, they've discussed it extensively because the who's defined as a rental and what that who qualifies. I mean, our public, they may not even know that they may be subject to that extra penny sales tax or the extra tourist development taxes that we have and so on. So thank you. I think it's great that you all brought this up, and I think it's important for everyone to be more well informed on the situation than we are now.
There's current state legislation that's dealing with preemption on this, so the city attorney, when he researches that.
Well, everything is being, if we leave it to the legislature, everything is being preempted. But and from my standpoint, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing unless it's not appropriately dealt with. And, we've got various parts of our community wherein it may make sense. I mean, there are some units downtown, frankly, that are too empty, and more people in them and going to restaurants and that kind of thing might not be a bad thing. But again, I think the way in which we permit, regulate these things is going to become increasingly important. So if the city attorney is willing to work with us on
Sure. And just so you know, there's already quite a bit of conversation going on among local government attorneys in Florida dealing with that issue.
Great. Thank you. And then, commissioners, a little announcement for as we close out this evening. The city of Tallahassee will be kicking off its 2016 Relay for Life campaign. Go ahead, Rick. Get it on, man. On March 1st. It's been a while since Rick's had hair. It's good, brother. Campaign on March 1st, and in City Hall chambers is where that event will take place at 9:30 in the morning, with the theme of Be a Superhero for Relay for Life. The leadership team and city volunteers are being asked to be champions for this important cause, and the campaign will end with the Relay for Life event on May 14th at Leon High School from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. And so we actually, Lou chaired the event for us last year and did an incredible job. The staff folks really jumped into this and made it an incredible, y'all are funny, this is good. Made it an incredible success, and so this year we're looking at recreating that success. And who is serving as chair this year? Is it?
Sandra Manning.
Sandra Manning is our chair, yeah. So we want to again invite you out March 1st, that's next week, Tuesday, also known as Super Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. right here in the City Commission, City Chambers, and we'll get that event kicked off. And congratulations, Sandra. Thank you for volunteering to do this on behalf. One thing that I didn't know when Lou picked this up as a priority last year, of the number of city employees and their spouses and families that are really impacted by cancer. And so this is while we're going to have a lot of fun, it's also we're partying with a purpose and raising money with a purpose. If there are no other announcements from appointed electeds, we stand in adjournment.
Community's future. Litter makes our city less attractive, decreases property values, and slows economic growth. It pollutes our water, harms wildlife, and makes a bad impression on visitors. We spend hundreds of thousands of tax dollars on cleanup every year. Such a waste. We have better ways to spend our time and money. Please, think before you throw. Where does it go? Visit talgov.com.